corner, guys. And we're on the back half of this week, which means the National Football League playoffs are just a few days away. We're going to take a deep dive into the first round wild card playoff matchups, which start on Saturday. We'll do that about a half an hour from right now. And, of course, we're not going to forget baseball. Our old friend Scott Miller from the New York Times is going to be on the program today. Been a while since we've caught up with Scott. And talk about some of these rumors I'm hearing about with Ha-Seong Kim and whether or not the Padres make a trade there and try to pile up some more assets heading into the season. I want to say that both you guys did a phenomenal job on the interview yesterday with Michael King. Really enjoyed getting a chance to meet him on our program. And it's good to be with you guys, even though I'm not with you guys.
Yes, always good to be with you, Chris. I will push back on it being a perfectly done interview. There was one question that was brought into question
really?
by our brethren in the morning. Ben Higgins. What
happened there?
Ben Higgins definitely did not like the Michael King question of him being the centerpiece of the trade and making him have to pull the humble card on us there. Skraby?
Yeah.
Now, how did Ben Higgins? Well, how did he address? How did Ben Higgins address this?
I did not know we were going in this direction at all, so I would have pulled the audio. But I asked Adam, and he said it wasn't anything big.
No, it wasn't.
But it was like the sentiment that Michael King might be considered the centerpiece of the trade. And I don't know. I asked the question because I wanted to know what it's like because I'll never get to be that guy.
Michael King played good teammate in this one,
he
right?
Did, but what was I don't see what did Ben Higgins think was wrong with the question? If there was a centerpiece to this trade, it would have to be Michael King. Who was it? Kyle Higashioka?
Yeah, I think
it was Michael King.
In Ben's defense, I don't think he really actually took issue with the question. I think he was really playfully poking fun at the question. But I think it was the way Michael King answered the question, right? It was one of those deals where he wasn't comfortable saying he was the centerpiece of the deal. And so welcome to our world, Michael King. We get questions from Skraby and we're uncomfortable every day. All day long. But it was nice to hear from Michael King. It was the first opportunity, at least I've had to hear from him. And the one thing that stuck with me was, really the guys that he's looking to kind of pattern his game after. And it was just interesting to get to know him a little bit.
I'll tell you one thing that I really enjoyed was what he had to say about the other pitchers that are coming with him in the trade.
Yeah.
He himself was, saying, look, Brito and Vasquez, these guys can pitch. And he said, although he hasn't seen the minor leaguer, Thorpe, he says, from everything he hears, this guy's incredible. So, I was really happy to hear that. We a lot of us think in this trade that, Juan Soto left and the Padres got, maybe Michael King and then a bunch of minor leaguers. If Michael King is right, the Padres might end up getting a whale of a haul here in this trade. And I sure hope he's right.
A lot of people believe the Padres got a heck of a haul in this deal. And
yeah.
I think it will all really turn on because it sounds like Thorpe who's the youngest of the guys who came over in that deal is a little bit of ways away, but it sounds like he's a dude. But I think what will turn this Padre Yankee trade into the Padres' favor quickly is the emergence of Vasquez and Brito, how fast they come along and what roles they're actually playing, right? Because it sounds like they're going to be given an opportunity to start. And if they come out and they are successful in year one, that puts the Padres well ahead of the curve in terms of the deal and how it's going to work out, especially when you consider Juan Soto has not signed an extension, at least at this point, with the Yankees. So as of now, he's a 1-year rental until otherwise notified.
All right, now that we've got that out of the way, maybe we have an issue on our hands, though, Tony, and you and I better talk about this. And on the air is any good places any to talk about it.
Well, it is about to happen.
I don't know.
Well, Ben Higgins pointed out that maybe Michael King was a little uncomfortable with the question put forth to him by Matt Skraby.
I'm going through the audio right now.
Now that I think about it, and I go back to the question and the way it was answered by Michael King, he did seem a little bit he was not put off. No. He was just uncomfortable.
He definitely was uncomfortable.
Has the time come, Tony, for you and I to have Mr. Skraby submit his questions to us before he go on and do an interview?
Number one, I did do that.
I think, he submitted his questions to the powers that be. Craig Huter, who's one of the Padres media guys. Michael King certainly wanted to come on here and leave a good impression. However, me and you may now have to check Skraby's questions.
We have to double check
because Michael King. It's funny since we're going back over it. It's playing through my head. I could see him squirming as the question was asked because he definitely was very uncomfortable being the center.
Okay, I gotta go pull this whole thing now so that we can hear the question. Hear Ben Higgins. I'm gonna work on this.
Nonetheless, it was a good interview yesterday. Good catching up with me.
It was Skraby, and don't take this too hard, and don't take it to heart. It was I think they were all good questions, and it was a fun interview to listen to.
Is there anything to it that maybe Mr. Skraby was a little nervous to interview the centerpiece of a trade?
Not the Skraby I know. The Skraby I know was irritated that people were giving him too much love after his first show because you know what, he's done this before. So I don't know that Skraby that's super nervous.
I was a little nervous.
You were a little bit.
I mean, don't you get a little nervous too? Like, I mean, it's still talking to a high profile person in public.
I don't know. I finally think I've gotten on the other side.
I haven't done enough of these yet.
For about 3-4 years, I was nervous every time I did anything with a camera or a mic in my face, but I kind of worked through those things.
You certainly didn't sound nervous. You sounded fine. So that's the bottom line.
Well, once I get going, it's fine.
I have to get warmed up.
When I get stuck in the middle of a question is when I start to panic a little bit, but I don't think that happened yesterday.
You have to power through. All right. Big news last night, of course, was that amazing play, as I tweeted out after the game, by my pal, J Powell.
Yeah.
What a block shot that was, guys, to seal the Aztecs' victory over San Jose State, 81-78. We can talk about whether this is a good win or not a good win, or whether they struggled more than they should have. But I just want to focus on that one play for now, Tony. It was an NBA level play. I mean, it was as good a block shot as you're ever going to see, considering where he was when the bounce pass was made. Jay Powell was still out at the free throw line.
He was at the
and he made a recovery and then an amazing leap, perfect timing, and wiped that ball off the glass and saved the day. It was, I jumped out of my seat, man. It was a great play to win the game.
He is the main reason why in today's basketball era, it's hard to be short. Like the length and that Jay Powell displayed, because he was beat badly on that back door. And as we talked about before, he took one step and was at the backboard. And it wasn't like he got it with his fingertips. I mean, he slapped this ball off the backboard with a whole hand. And it was remarkable to me only because of how bad he was beat on that. Well, I don't even know if it was a short backdoor, but the big man got away from him. I mean, he ate up that space so quickly, saved the game for the Aztecs.
That was a beautiful, beautiful play, and I thought it was a really good win for the Aztecs.
It was.
I think if people look at the final score and they say, well, they only beat a lousy team by 3 points. First of all, San Jose State's not a lousy team. No. Secondly, they didn't play lousy. They played beyond probably their capabilities last night. They were hitting 3-point bank shots, driving 3-point plays. They were driving and kicking. They were finishing at the rim. San Jose State, I thought, played about as well as you could expect a team to play.
They played their perfect game. They played their A game last
night.
They
did. They played the perfect game, the kind of game you see when a ranked team gets upset. That's exactly the kind of game you see.
Yeah.
The only thing is, the Aztecs didn't get upset.
No, they still beat them.
They still beat them. And I think for that, it's a great win by the Aztecs. You can't say enough about Jaden Ledee. They had absolutely no answer for him, obviously. 31 points, 10 rebounds. But the most amazing statistic of all, Tony, he drew not 5 fouls, not 10, 15 fouls were called on San Jose State trying to defend this guy. He shot 19 free throws. He made 15 of them. He had a tour de force game, but all in all, this is a gut check, and it was a gut check that the Aztecs answered with flying colors as far as I was concerned.
Yeah, no, I think my man on the broadcast said it best yesterday. Ladie is like, or at least last night's game, and really pretty much the whole year, is like the one kid in Little League on the Little League team that's way bigger, already developed than everybody else. That's what he looked like in the post yesterday. The one poor guy, he backed him down twice. He was under the basket. All my man could do was just wrap his arms around him, and he still got the N1 bucket and the free throw. He was on display, but I think you put it perfectly. The San Jose State played their best game, and they lost still. The Aztecs took all the punches that the San Jose State had to offer, kept their chin out there, and found a way to win on the road in the Mountain West. And the thing I was encouraged listening to that game yesterday, or watching that game, was listen to the broadcasters talk about how deep and how good the Mountain West is, that they're talking about it in the way they did yesterday. And you just hope that that continues through the rest of the season.
Well, how deep is it? I mean, you got 5 teams in the top 40 of the net rankings, and one of the teams that isn't in that group, Boise State, blew out Colorado State last night.
Yeah.
So that's how good the conference is. UNLV blew out New Mexico last night, and UNLV is not a top 40 team. And we saw just how good San Jose State can be. It is a great conference. And the other thing that made me really doubly excited for the Aztecs to win last night was we saw, and this is something I pointed out last week, teams don't win on the road in NCAA basketball. And if you don't believe me, just ask Purdue and Houston, who both went on the road last night and both got beat.
I would love to keep talking about the Aztecs, but we're going to have to, me and you, Chris, are going to have to cipher through what Skraby is handing me right now.
This is breaking news from 97.3 The Fan.
Skraby is really going out on this limb for me right now.
How am I going out on the limb?
Because you hit the breaking news report.
I'm seeing that this is true.
The real deal.
It's the real deal.
Apparently, Nick Saban is retiring.
Yeah.
What?
He just 5 minutes ago, Chris Lowe of ESPN tweeted, Saban just informed his team that he is retiring. He won 6 national titles at Alabama.
It has not hit the ESPN app yet.
I know, but I'm looking.
But it just hit my Bleacher Report app.
Okay, good. Okay.
Nick Saban is retiring, according to Bleacher Report. That is that falls in line with a bunch of surprising things today. Nick Saban goes on the same day Pete Carroll is also let go, or moves into the front office, I should say.
Right.
I didn't see that one coming either. I certainly didn't see Nick Saban come. I mean, he didn't seem like he was anywhere like suggesting he may retire. But if indeed this is happening, this is a huge, huge story in college football.
Skraby, I think you got to break out the crying emoji Chris Ello sounder for this. I mean, this is that heartbreaking to me.
I wanted to congratulate my favorite college football coach, Nick Saban.
Not that one.
Oh, Chris just found out that Nick Saban's retiring. Name and logo.
Yeah, man, I'm heartbroken. Yeah, who am I gonna pick on next year?
Wow, Nick Saban decides he's had enough.
Hang it up.
Yeah. All right.
I mean, he's got enough money. He can do nothing for the rest of his life and be okay.
Well,
as long as he doesn't retire and then pop up in the NFL next season and pull one of those things.
That would really make you his number one fan.
It's a Miami Dolphin fan right here talking, and he did the Dolphins dirty.
I would love to know who the names are who want to take this job at this point.
Oh gosh, can you imagine? It's got to be Bill O'Brien.
And so now, I mean, if Jim Harbaugh leaves, seems like is the way it's going, you will have 2 of the premier college football jobs online, ready to roll.
Yeah, how about that?
Man.
All right. Well, we'll take a minute to digest all of this and step aside for a second. But when we come back, a little bit more on the breaking news that Nick Saban is going to step away and retire as head coach at Alabama. More on the Aztecs' great win last night as well. Scott Miller talking baseball later on. NFL playoff preview at the bottom of this hour. Jam-packed. Gwynn and Chris, 97.3 The Fan.
Did you miss anything from your favorite fan talk show? The Odyssey app's
So, that's not shocking to me that he would say what he said in November, because he was obviously had to be thinking about it then. It's hard to believe that he just woke up, yesterday and decided, I think I'm gonna pack it in. And, this sounds very Skraby-like to say this, but the Patriots job's about to come open. It just would not be out of the realm for me to see Nick Saban, do one of these things where he pops up again. I don't know.
You know what? I'm thinking back to his last press conference after they lost to Michigan, and thinking about some of the words that I heard him use, which don't see it. At the time, my eyebrows kind of went up. Him talk after a loss. Usually, Nick Saban isn't like the most chipper dude that they interview, but he seemed to be speaking from almost like a 20,000 foot view as he was talking about that game. I think he said this is the proudest he's ever been of a team that started where they were. He said it didn't seem like it fazed him as much as the other playoff losses that Alabama, the few that they've been able to have over that tenure. And now hearing him retirement, it kind of makes sense now. It seemed as though he kind of was coming to grips with it in that press conference as he was speaking so positively after a loss. I just don't know Nick Saban to do that. He usually is quite perturbed. And even when he was pointing out some of the flaws, like, he said they shot themselves in the foot because they didn't execute certain time. It wasn't with the same like vigor that it usually was. It was much more like he was coming to grips with something, and it seems like it's retirement.
Yeah. Well, I will grant you that in the lead here is the fact that he'll stay retired, but I don't think you can take him resurfacing again off the board entirely yet.
Yeah, I think you're just jaded because the Dolphins.
I think so too.
Got left at the altar a little bit.
All right.
We'll see. The other question though is who is going to replace him? And you mentioned Vrabel. I see his name come up as he's an Ohio State guy. Debo. Or
Samuel?
No, Dabo, excuse me. Dabo is an Alabama guy, played there.
Yes,
now, maybe the shine is a little bit not as shiny as it was a few years ago, but seems like a guy that you could plug it. He's won at a high level before.
How about Dion?
Oh,
was that too much of a disaster the second half of the Colorado season to consider him?
I don't know that he wants that smoke either. I think he might be kind of happy where he is in Colorado at this point. Because the thing that comes along with
but just think that the players he could get at Alabama. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt about that. No doubt about it. So we'll entertain the whole Alabama thing a little bit as we go on in the show. We do have an NFL kind of playoff segment for you coming up here next. But I want to go back to this mailbag that Dennis Lynn wrote. And one of the things that came up in that mailbag was the possibility of having to trade Ha-Seong Kim. And I know there might be a riot here in San Diego if the Padres do ship him or were to ship him. I also know that it seems like on your way to opening day in Korea, that might not be a guy you want to trade, considering, it's kind of a big draw. But when you look at the Padres, they have some holes to fill. He's probably the guy outside of, Bogey, Manny, Toddy that has the most value.
There's no question. There's no question about that, Tony. I agree with you 100%. I would not revolt if they traded Ha-Seong Kim. I don't get me wrong. I don't dislike Ha-Seong Kim as a player. I'm not as enamored with him as everybody else is. I think he had a career year last year, and I think you have to ask yourself, is he going to have another career year, or was that the career year? Because, Ha-Seong Kim last year was far superior to the other Ha-Seong Kim that we saw, and I think most people kind of feel, well, he finally caught up to the fastball. Now he's figured it all out. He's valuable because he plays a lot of positions, and he plays them all at a Gold Glove level. So he is something that other teams would be very interested in, but he's he's a lot of different things. He's a Swiss. I always want to say switchblade Army knife, and that's just not right. He's a Swiss Army knife. That is
Switchblade Army knife.
Yeah, he's not that. But he's got a lot of options. The problem is he's still only one guy. You can only put in the lineup. So, if the Padres could get a package, I think they really need to listen. I think Dennis Lynn's onto something.
Yeah, listen, first, if we can remove our fan hat for a second, I think you're spot on. Ha-Seong had his best season in the big leagues last year. And as you mentioned, he started catching up to the fastball. That's the difference in the 2 years that he had. He's improved every single year, but he didn't make a jump like he made last year. He finished the year hitting 260, on base of 351, OPS of 749. That's almost 50 points higher. It's 41 points higher than what his career regular season had been. And, you look at the numbers, you do have to kind of wonder, is that the ceiling? Is there more? Is there more in there? I mean, Ha-Seong ended with 23 doubles, 17 homers. Is he a 25 guy? Do you think he's a 30 guy?
No.
I don't think so. So
I don't either. A lot of teams, a lot of organizations have had a lot of, less than stellar seasons through the years because they fall in love with or get enamored with a single player. And I don't think AJ Preller's the type to do that. No. I don't think that, if the right package were to be made available, I don't think our love for Ha-Seong Kim would be enough to keep him from pulling a trigger.
No, if AJ Preller's love for Juan Soto wasn't enough to keep him, I can promise you everybody else it won't be as hard.
Some of the questions on the chat, I think, are good. Why would you trade him when Manny's going to miss the first half of the year?
And so we haven't been able to flush this out enough, but that is one of the reasons why you wouldn't, right? Manny's not guaranteed to be back by opening day. As a matter of fact, it's predicted he won't be back until May. Now, I did see some reports that there's some hope that maybe it's a little bit earlier, but that is a reason why you won't. But I think it's something as you look at the, 2 outfield spots, if you're, not counting Sugar as your center fielder, 2 outfield spots, 2 maybe another rotation depth piece. Am I missing anybody? Am I missing other spots here?
Well, DH,
or with Kim having to move over, you assume Jake having to play probably second base a lot more.
Who's playing first now?
Who's playing first? So that's going to have to be a DH first baseman is going to have to be addressed.
There's so many more questions than I would like at this point in the year.
It's early.
Yeah, there are.
Still, I mean, it's not early.
But there's plenty of time to answer all of them. It's just a matter of how you want to go about it. And I think that this Ha-Seong Kim is an intriguing thing because, when you read his batting average to me, Tony, I thought that was a mistake. You said 260.
Yeah.
He seemed like he hit 320 last year.
He did. He cooled down.
He really did. So, I think that he comes off as a guy that was a whole lot better than he was. Don't get me wrong. I like him. I really like him. But I like having these other spots filled more than I like having Ha-Seong Kim.
The other thing that I think we haven't mentioned yet is Ha-Seong Kim is a free agent after this year.
Good thing to mention.
And if you do think that isn't his ceiling and he can go higher and he can have a better year, are you going to be able to pay him the following year, whatever free agency? Because quite frankly, it didn't look like it maybe in year 1, but year 2 and 3, you kind of got a bargain.
I mean, $8 million for someone like him is a steal now.
It's right now in today's market.
Yeah.
And so if he's going to outdo what that $8 million is, are you going to be able to pay him? And if you're not, is it better now to maybe look, or maybe not even just now, up until the deadline, see where you're at? Now, the flip side is outside of, your main 3, he was your next productive player on that team. He was more productive than some of the bigger names, probably.
I said this on the Skraby show last night. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. It's from 6 to 7 p.m. here on this station.
Is that similar to the Skraby experience?
Yes, sure. Whatever you want, Chris. But the chat brought this up too, but the guys who are getting paid the most money last year did not come through for them.
I mean, that's
this year they have to come through for them.
Of course.
Have to.
I mean, that's no different than every other year, though. I mean, that is the result if the big dogs don't big dog. You know what I'm saying?
I do love
that. And they ultimately, when you look at their numbers, they ultimately got to where they needed to, but you kind of needed kind of sustained throughout the year. But that's not anything new. We kind of already knew that. All right, I'm being given the break signal, meaning we've gone too far. Let's step away, take a break. When we come back, we may dabble a little bit more in this Padre mailbag, but you know, Saturday's coming on quick, and that means NFL playoffs is right around the corner. Chris and I and Skraby will get into it when we return. More Gwynn and Chris.
Ben and Woods on the Fan.
All right, welcome back. Gwynn and Chris. 2:40 is the time. Chris Ello in Laramie, Wyoming today. And Tony Gwynn Jr., Matt Skraby, together in the Odyssey Palace Studios. If you're just tuning in, big breaking news this hour. Nick Saban is going to retire from coaching at Alabama and everywhere else, apparently. I would imagine official word from Nick Saban will be coming soon, next day or so. But that's kind of the big deal we're talking about that just happened here just a little while ago. Of course, we're talking a little bit about Ha-Seong Kim, whether or not the Padres should consider moving him if the right trade package comes along. And, of course, the Aztecs with a big win last night on the brilliant play by Jay Powell with the game-winning block shot as the Aztecs beat San Jose State to improve their record to 14-2. I saw a pretty funny tweet about that today, guys. It said San Diego State is now 14-2, so it's time for them to fire Marty Schottenheimer.
I did see that tweet too.
I saw that. Yeah,
that was the record Marty Schottenheimer had the year he was fired as head coach of the Chargers. So
Marcus McNeill said that when that happened, that was like a major blow to that locker room.
Yeah,
yeah,
well, it was a major blow to that organization.
Yeah, they never recovered.
You know. They still haven't recovered. Yeah. And that was 17 years ago. And what have the Chargers done since then? Not a whole lot. All right. Speaking of the NFL, playoffs are coming up this weekend. Thought we'd take a little closer look-see. Now, we'll have our picks a little later in the week. But first, we've got 6 wild card playoff games. Here's my stat of the week, guys. And you can take it for what it's worth out there. Maybe you are a daily gambit type person. This statistic may interest you. First-time quarterbacks in the wild card playoffs have won only 1/3 of their games against the spread, and even fewer outright victories for first-time quarterbacks. The first-time quarterbacks in this weekend's wild card round are Tua Tagovailoa of the Dolphins, Jordan Love of the Packers, Mason Rudolph of the Steelers, and C.J. Stroud of the Texans. I will tell you that all 4 teams that are quarterbacked by those guys are underdog this week. So tread carefully when making your predictions and or wagers. So something to keep in the back of your mind.
I mean, I guess that's not all that surprising. You know,
I don't think it is.
There's a reason.
It's a whole different animal, man, when you get into the playoffs.
It's a whole different animal. We see teams just play at a high level, and if you've never experienced it, I imagine for a quarterback in the playoffs, as fast as the game is going in the regular season, I bet it goes a couple steps faster in the playoffs.
I'm pretty sure it does. I think, I was reading, some people are saying, well, Tua Tagovailoa and C.J. Stroud have both played a national championship and college football playoffs, so they'll be used to it. I don't think so, because that's still not the level of an NFL playoff game.
And they don't have the same type of athletes running around that's chasing after them, too, by the way, compared to the national championship.
Chris, real quick, Chance on the chat is saying that he put down $200 on the Dolphins to win the Super Bowl this year. How you feeling about that?
Not good.
Not too good. I'm sorry.
I knew he was going to say that.
I appreciate your support, and I'm sure the Dolphins do too, but I don't see how you can feel too good about it the way they finished up the season. Anyway, but if that happens, I'll be as happy as you are. I'll tell you that. All right, first game on the board, guys, is the Deshaun Watson Bowl. It is the team that he doesn't play for now, going up against the team he used to play for, the Cleveland Browns and the Houston Texans. C.J. Stroud makes his first start in a playoff game. He faces veteran Joe Flacco. What a revelation he has been for the Browns, who are a 2.5-point favorite. These two teams just met a few weeks ago in Houston, and Cleveland throttled them, beat them bad. So I don't know if that's a little revenge for Houston or if that's a confidence booster for Cleveland. What do you think about these young Texans? I mean, they got a rookie coach and a rookie quarterback, Tony.
They do, and I'm very impressed. I love C.J. Stroud. We both do. However, unfortunately, he's got to go up against the best piece of the Cleveland Browns, and that's their defense, which is the number one defense in football. So
yeah,
I think that regardless of who's quarterbacking for the Browns, I think that defense in itself is going to give them a good opportunity to win. And I think those numbers get worse for first-year quarterbacks in the playoffs in terms of C.J. Stroud.
Yeah, Cleveland has been the forgotten team, really, in the AFC. I mean, everyone's talked about Miami over the year. Buffalo's the hot team now, and Kansas City and Baltimore have been there all year, but nobody's mentioned Cleveland. They do have a win over San Francisco and Baltimore this year, so maybe you shouldn't forget completely about the Browns. Second game Saturday. Many of you will not see this game because you will not be willing to plunk down $5.99 to watch it on Peacock.
Yeah,
like I had to do.
Oh my goodness. I need to bring up Mike Francesa. He went on some rant about this as well.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. And it's like, Mike Francesa, out of all people, you have plenty of money to get Peacock. It's okay. You could probably even get it for free.
It's principle.
But what we talked about last night is a lot of people were telling me on the chat that they have Peacock included with either their cable provider or their cell phone plan. So a lot
of people don't have it, guys. Still a lot of people don't have it.
There's no talking to Chris about this.
He doesn't want to hear it.
The fact of the matter is, it's like the NFL doesn't have enough money. They need another $5.99 from me. It'll be the Dolphins and the Chiefs. I heard some guys talking about this game today, saying this is the one they're looking forward to the most. Everybody's talking about Tyreek Hill going back to Kansas City, and what kind of damage he might be able to inflict on the Chiefs. But two things, for concern the hell out of me. One is Tua's first playoff game. He seems like a nervous quarterback anyway, Tony. So you put him in this situation, it could really be bad. And there's just no escaping Miami's injuries. I know people probably think I'm saying it as an excuse. It's just a fact. I mean, you've got 6 starters out on defense and potentially 2 more big weapons out on offense because we don't know if Jalen Waddle or Mostert are going to play. That's a pretty tall task to ask him to go into Kansas City and win.
Yeah, no, listen, it's going to be tough. It's going to be real tough. And it's not an excuse. I mean, it may come off as an excuse, but you're not winning in the National Football League if you don't have your best players. And if you don't have your best players healthy, right. Especially going up against a team that's been how many consecutive AFC championship games?
For sure.
Yeah, and I don't care that they're not playing good football. These type of teams, when you get into these situations, they figure it out. And so, yeah, this isn't setting up well for the Dolphins, mainly because they're not healthy.
Agreed, Tony. On Sunday, it'll be the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Buffalo Bills. They're calling this the William and Mary Bowl, and that's really a reach. But evidently, both coaches, Mike Tomlin and Sean McDermott, went to William and Mary. So that's what they came up with for this game. The Bills are red hot, but you know what? The Steelers are too. And Mike Tomlin's just done an amazing job. I think Buffalo's going to have to, be on its game here. If they're not, Pittsburgh might try to run the ball and control the clock. That'll be their strategy anyway.
If Josh Allen turns the ball over, Pittsburgh's going to win this game. If he has it's not even necessarily just Josh Allen. If the Bills don't take care of the football, I think that's really the only way the Steelers can beat the Bills in this game, because I don't know that they have enough firepower now. That could change quickly, but I assume Rudolph is going to get the start here. Or
he's your guy. No, Mason Rudolph.
Yeah, so I think the Steelers are going to have to take away the ball a couple times.
I may have missed it. Where is this game?
It's in Buffalo, where it'll be nice and warm. Yeah,
I was gonna say, the weather is going to be a major
Steelers ain't going to be worried about the weather. They both play in terrible weather.
I mean, it's going to be snowing on Saturday and 25 and windy on Sunday. So these games are going to have major weather implications this weekend.
Yeah, but both teams, I agree with Tony. In this game, I don't think it's that big of a factor. Mike Tomlin, he'll want as much snow and muck and dirt. And
that actually probably helps Pittsburgh, honestly.
Yeah, same for Miami on Saturday night. If they can keep it a low-scoring game, maybe they can get lucky at the end. Second game on Sunday is two of the all-time great franchises in the NFL going head-to-head, the Green Bay Packers and the Dallas Cowboys. Both have 36 all-time playoff wins. That is the second most in NFL history. Cowboys, they've been unbeatable at home this year. And I don't think they ever did lose a home game. Blew out almost everybody they played until that Detroit game. Green Bay, got to give credit to the rookie quarterback, Jordan Love. But is he ready for this kind of stage, Tony?
I don't think so. I don't. I think, Skraby, what you got?
I think so.
You think he's ready?
I told Chris,
you think so, huh?
I told Chris that this is the team that worries me the most. The team that
Green Bay?
The team that gets hot at the end of the year, plays some good football, and heads into the playoffs hot.
I don't know that they're that hot. They lost week before last?
I got to check I thought they won a bunch of games at the end.
They won some games at the end, but they had a couple hiccups there at the end, too. I don't know that they're as hot of a team. It's not like they're on like a 6-game burner here. They won that last game. They had to win that last game.
Out of their last 4 games, they won 3. They won 3 in a row to close out the year. They lost to the Buccaneers, and then they lost on that Monday Night Football to the Giants. But the Giants beat the Eagles too. So
yeah, so
I'm just a little nervous about this team.
To answer your question, Chris, I don't think this isn't the time where it's about to go down. And the Green Bay Packers, the Cowboys. I'm reluctant to say this because they're much like the Chargers. They will make you look crazy. But Cowboys have been playing well. Dak Prescott, in particular, has figured out, I need to get the ball to CeeDee Lamb as much as possible, and that's worked for him. They're throwing it around. Defense is playing well. They're a team that's dangerous. That's the team I think you should be scared of, Skraby.
I would be more scared of Dallas than Green Bay. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Although Mike McCarthy, they're saying he'll get fired if they lose this game.
It's probably
that's
coming.
what they're saying in Dallas.
And if I'm not mistaken, I think – because I heard some of the guys talking about it on the NFL Live. I think their owner, Jerry Jones, has kind of like put that out there. Like if he doesn't get it done, he's out. Right. And of course, Jerry does it before the actual playoff game.
That's right. He wants to provide as much pressure as he can.
They have a career year for the team, but he's going to be out.
He's going to be out.
I mean, they do make some early exits in the playoffs.
You know what you sign up for whenever you're dealing with the Cowboys. So I mean, this isn't anything new.
Yeah, Sunday night game is, I think, the most intriguing one of the bunch. The Red Hot Rams and Matthew Stafford return to Detroit to take on Jared Goff and the Lions. Now, the Rams won 8 of their last 9 games, guys, and the only loss they had was in overtime at Baltimore. Wow. The Rams have quietly played some amazingly good football.
They have.
But on the other side, I just think the Lions have been one of the best teams in the league all year from the very first night when they beat Kansas City on the road, right on through to that Dallas game that they should have won. So I don't know who to go with here. This is a tight game.
This is probably the closest game for me in terms of who I like. I like Detroit. I'm obviously a Dan Campbell, kneecap cannibal guy myself, but you got to respect the job that the Rams have done because they were an afterthought coming into this season. Nobody was really talking about them. They seem to still be in their Super Bowl hangover. But they have played, particularly Matt Stafford, has played some terrific football.
Kyron Williams.
They got a lot of good things going. Sean McVay, he did another good job.
He did a good job. And go ahead, Tony.
Do you guys remember when I made my prediction about the Lions? Because I angered at least one Lions fan out there.
Yes, you said they would not win a playoff game.
And Jared Goff would be their downfall.
Yes,
so
you did.
I'm going
he
to
almost
stand
was,
by
but
that.
he got the ship right.
I'm going to stand by that.
You can stand by it in a certain sense, Skraby. The Lions have only won 1 playoff game since 1957. So
that is
it's not
really
pretty
going out
remarkable.
On a limb there.
That is brutal for a
That
fan.
is bad. That is brutal. All right, final game, and I think it's last, and it's also least, is Philadelphia, Tampa Bay on Monday night. The Eagles stumble into the postseason. The Buccaneers got there because they're in a terrible division. It is Baker Mayfield going against Jalen Hurts, a couple of old Lincoln Riley quarterbacks. The Eagles got to find their mojo, Tony, and I don't know where it went.
Yeah, no, it's quite perplexing to see this team roll in the way they did and nosedive 1-5 to end the season. I still think they're better than Tampa Bay, and they'll win that game, but they still got a lot of things. They got to hope everybody gets healthy enough in time for this game.
Yeah, AJ Brown, I haven't heard a lot about him this week. Skraby, have you heard any updates?
No, I read that they're still they're not announcing anything, which I don't know is a good thing.
They get tight-lipped around playoff time. Like, I know there's mandatory, you got to get this stuff out, but they're not giving it up early. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, Baker Mayfield, if he wins a couple more playoff games like he did in Cleveland a couple years ago, this could turn his fortunes around.
You're right.
Because he was at the bottom of the barrel, and he's done a nice job bouncing back with Tampa Bay. All right, NFL playoffs this weekend. Our picks will come a little later in the week. When we come back, some daily Gambit stuff for you. And also Scott Miller in the next hour to talk more Ha-Seong Kim and the Padres. It's Gwynn and Chris on 97.3 The Fan.
and Chris Ello.
The Angels are in Anaheim to take on the LA Angels of Anaheim. We are here.
What?
It's time to get you up to speed on all things sports. Yes! With plenty of nonsense in between.
Oh, look! Here comes our fearless producer!
Gwynn and Chris starts right now on 97.3 The Fan.
3 o'clock. 3:01 actually. Tony Gwynn Jr., Chris Ello, Matt Skraby. Chris is out in Laramie.
Laramie.
You didn't ask me what the weather was out here today.
I just know
you
it's
guys
cold.
want to report.
I do.
Yeah, what we got?
Sunny and 19.
Hey, there's that number again.
Sunny and 19. That
Yeah.
You don't hear that in California. Ever.
No, it's perfectly brilliant sunshine. Like it's blinding sunshine. And then you step outside and you're like, rah.
Okay, we had this talk. Raw.
We're gonna need that sounder too. We're gonna clip that.
We had this talk yesterday, but I said that you probably didn't layer up enough on your trip to Laramie, and you're probably
I didn't layer at all.
See,
I didn't layer it
I
all
knew it.
because, but I'm not outside. You got to remember, man, the plane brings you right up to the doorstep of the bus. The bus brings you right up to the door of the hotel. Then the bus brings you to the arena right at the back door. You walk in, you go home. I mean, you're not outside very much. So a jacket will do, but it's still cold. That's for sure.
I would be
It
miserable.
is definitely cold.
I'm miserable listening to you talk about how cold it is right now.
Yeah. I know the good news. The good news is it's not snowing. The bad news is it's not snowing and it's clear skies. And when it's perfectly clear, it's just that crisp coldness that's even worse.
I'm freezing talking about. I tell you what, that sounds miserable too. Sunny and 19. That sounds awful.
I don't know. If we ever get Josh Allen on the show, guys, we got to ask him what in the hell he was thinking.
No kidding.
Why he came here, I'll never know.
Well, it turned out to be a good decision.
It turned out to work out for him. Yeah.
We got a little daily gambit working towards Skraby right now.
Ah! Is that what Chris did?
Do you like money?
I think about money a lot.
Do you like money without doing anything?
Winning.
Do you want to make money while watching sports?
I think Washington is immortal luck.
Washington! Woohoo! If you answered yes, this is your segment. Just don't blame us when you lose.
Nothing is ever your fault.
It's your game. Take it.
Gwynn and Chris go through the top bets of the day in The Daily Gambit on 97.3 The Fan.
Daily Gambit is our daily sports betting segment here on Gwynn and Chris. Please, everybody, gamble responsibly. Chris, do you know if Wyoming has legal gambling?
I don't, but they must, because what else do these people do here?
Okay. Well, I was just, I was going to say.
Why was there such a delayed reaction to that?
I think you're a little bit behind. I think you're a little bit behind in the feed.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, you're definitely behind.
Did that happen all of a sudden?
Yes.
What do you mean?
It's like we're talking to someone in Nigeria right now, going off satellites.
Should I reconnect?
No, you're okay, Chris. I think you're okay.
We'll do that during the break.
Yeah, we'll do that during the break. But here we go. I got some bets. They're college basketball bets, and they're just some of the games that caught my eye. You got UCLA and Utah tonight at Utah. Utah 9.5-point favorites in this one. Chris,
what has happened to UCLA basketball? What in the world of, John Wooden's rolling over in his grave right now? I mean, this team has lost, I believe, they've lost 6 of their last 9 games. I mean, they're getting beaten by everybody. UCLA was a Sweet 16 team last year and a Final Four team the year before that. And, they still got, Mick Cronin and everything there at UCLA. And, they got off to the season a good start and they were ranked and everybody was talking them up. Now they got swept by Stanford and Cal last week. I think it's the first time that's happened like in 30 years or something, or even longer.
Sweet right there.
Yeah, so I'm gonna just go with Utah. I'm gonna just say UCLA is just in a bad way and they can't get out of it right now.
All right, Tony.
It's a lot of points though. My goodness.
Did you say Ute? Give me a Ute.
Okay, I'll give you a Ute.
Little my cousin Vinny for you right there.
I'm gonna go. Give me a Ute. Give me a Ute. That's what we're gonna do here. Did you say Ute? We all. I've never seen that movie.
You never seen My Cousin Vinny?
I have not.
Oh my gosh, classic.
Next game, UConn.
For a guy that's watched so many,
Right,
for a guy that's watched so many bad movies, you miss like some of the greatest of all time, Skraby.
Bad movies are my favorite movies.
Yeah, bad movies that you say are great are good.
Every movie's good.
Yeah, exactly.
You can find something good in every movie.
Vinny, My Cousin Vinny.
I've heard of it for sure.
I know you have. You had to have.
Who's in it? Is
Melissa
it
Tomei?
I'm in.
Yeah.
All right.
Joe Pesci.
That's all I need to say.
I thought Joe Pesci was in it,
too.
but all right. UConn, Xavier in Cincinnati. UConn's a 4.5-point favorite, Tony.
Yeah. Oh, UConn just lost one of their best players too to the injury. I'm gonna go Xavier.
Oh, I'm gonna go UConn. Chris?
Well, I'm going to just base this on the last time we had UConn in our betting. They were 5-point favorite at Butler, and they barely covered that game.
Yeah, that's true.
Xavier's a lot better than Butler. So Xavier's a good basketball team. I'll take Xavier here.
All right.
At home plus the points.
Here's a big old spread. I love these in college basketball. Louisville at Miami of Florida. Miami, 16.5-point favorites. I'm going to go with Louisville because these bets are always so hard to cover for the team that is minus 16.5. Chris?
Yeah, I'm going to I normally agree with you, but Louisville's really bad basketball.
Yeah.
And this is
okay, maybe
this is something that is really, I was actually talking to some Louisville fans when they were out here for the Holiday Bowl, and they're like, we cannot believe how bad our basketball program is. And, that athletic director there, terrific guy. I can't remember his name. He was a really nice guy, spoke at the Holiday Bowl dinner, but he's not going to have his job long if they don't get that basketball program squared away, because folks in Kentucky don't like to have their basketball teams be this bad. But right now, Louisville is. Miami's a Final Four team from last year. I will give the points and take Miami.
All right, Tony?
I'm taking Miami.
All right. I just look at their standings, their schedule. They've won one game in their past 7, so that's great for me. And they've been
Louisville.
Yeah, they've been blown out in almost every game. They got blown out 75-63 by Arkansas State. So, I guess
Louisville's not good in basketball, man. I'm going with Jesse Agler in this game, baby.
All right.
Jesse.
Next one, Kansas and UCF. Kansas on the road, 7-point favorites. Chris.
Well, this sounds like a trap because, I think if you're just a general follower of college basketball, you would say to yourself, Kansas is great, and who is UCF? But as we saw last night, Purdue got blown out at Nebraska. Houston lost its first game of the year at Iowa State. It's crazy when you go on the road in conference play, and this is a road conference game. You got to believe Kansas has enough class to win, but can they win by how many? 7?
Yeah.
Yeah, 7. 7 minus 7.
God, I just feel like I'm going to, I'm going to stay with my thinking. I'm going to go with the home team again and take the points. I'll take UCF.
Wow. Okay. I did not expect that, Tony.
This is making me think more about San Diego State, honestly. We had the discussion about going on the road, and you see Purdue get thumped yesterday on the road, Houston get thumped on the road. Here we are, Aztecs going up to Gonzaga, not in a neutral spot, but on their home floor, and wax them. And we get stuck at 19. Anyway, I digress. Give me USF to cover.
Wow, that was a little look inside what Tony's thinking about on the drive home.
I'm sorry.
I'm going to go.
Irritated me after I thought about Purdue losing on the road and Houston losing on the road.
I'm going to go.
Colorado State lost on the road and BYU lost on the road. Everyone lost on the road last night except for the Aztecs.
You know what? I'm going to go with Kansas, actually. I'm going to go with Kansas. just to be the
Gonna be a
contrarian.
contrarian.
Now it's the battle
I
of the
used to like
toilet.
when you said that. You don't say that anymore.
No, because someone shamed me years ago, and I was self-conscious about it. But I'm bringing it back. I'm going to be the contrarian.
There you go. I like it. I like it.
The battle of the
What
toilet.
is this? The battle of the toilet bowl?
Yes.
The battle of the toilet?
Spurs and Pistons, two worst teams in the NBA.
Oh,
Pistons
my
are home.
goodness.
The Spurs are 3.5-point favorites in this game. I believe Tony is first.
Spurs.
Can you give me the records
They got Wemby.
real quick?
The records, yes, I can get you records real quick. Let's see. Of course they don't give me the records when I click on that. Oh my goodness, the Spurs are 5-30, and the Pistons are 3-34. This is brutal.
This has got to be the worst matchup in the history of the NBA.
It might
right?
be.
There couldn't possibly be a game between two teams worse than this.
This is pretty bad.
I think the Pistons are a little bit better than the Spurs, and they're at home. I'll take the Pistons.
Oh, wow, okay.
But I wouldn't feel confident about it.
I'm going to take the Spurs because of what Tony said. They have Wemby.
All right.
And that's it for the bets for today.
Those are some interesting games tonight, Skraby.
Yeah, thank you. Searched high and low for those games.
I'm sure you did. How long was the research take you? 45, 50 seconds?
About 3.5 minutes. 3.5 minutes.
You walked right into that door.
Oh, I knew where we were going with that. I like to make people think that I try. And that is trying, I guess.
That's trying. Definitely trying.
So there you go.
No bets for you today, Chris?
He does not have any.
No, I didn't have any bets today on the road. I don't bring my bookie with me on the road. So
I wanted to read.
What happened to the Laker game last night, Tony Gwynn Jr., while we have a minute? I saw the Toronto Raptors coach losing his mind after that game. What transpired in the fourth quarter? I saw the Lakers won by 1 point, but the Toronto coach was kicking and screaming after that game.
Without sounding like a homer on this, he was complaining that the Lakers were getting more calls when the reality was his team was hacking all fourth quarter, and that's why they ended up falling short. They almost came back too, but I don't think his gripe. Obviously, when you see the difference in foul calls, I think it was like 20-something to 2 in favor of the Lakers. You know, you don't like to see it, but if you watch the game, his teams were hacking, and he was quite perturbed at the end. Yeah.
Yes, he was. He's going to get himself a fine for sure.
It's going to be a nice, hefty fine, I'm sure. We won't know the actual amount, but I wanted to read this. This came from Coach Prime. His tweet about Saban walking away. He says, wow, college football just lost the GOAT to retirement. Wow. I knew it would happen one day soon, but not this soon. The game has changed so much that it chased the GOAT away. College football, let's hold up our mirrors and say honestly what you see. I think he's referring to what I think we've been having a conversation about really all season. Portals, NILs, and I don't know if you guys saw this today. NCAA passed the NIL kind of deal that they had put together. Now, I don't know exactly what that means that they passed. Does it become the letter of the law? We'll have to find out. But we might start seeing a lot of the coaches that were cut from the Nick Saban cloth walk away, because this college game is going to change, and it's going to take a while, I think, for it to be governed in the right way. So I'll leave you with that.
It's interesting that Dion is pointing that out and saying, look, we're losing Nick Saban in part, according to Dion, and he's thinking, and he knows him pretty well. They do all those commercials together. And he said, look, we might be losing Nick Saban because our sport needs fixing.
Yeah.
And he's not the only one who's saying that. Kirby Smart said the same thing after the Georgia game.
Yeah.
Those are two pretty high profile guys.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I think those of us who watch college football are all in agreement that there needs to be some type of change. And I don't know that any of us has the exact answer, but it certainly isn't seeming like it's going to work the way it's built right now. So let's get to break. When we come back, Troy Taylor of the APGA will join us We'll discuss when we return on the other side. More Gwynn and Chris.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Traffic is sponsored by Soapy Joe's. Guys, right off the bat, we can check ladder and lanes off of our afternoon commute bingo card. North 805, just before Mira Mesa Boulevard. Looks like it is in middle lanes. Fortunately, everything else looking pretty quiet around the county so far. Chief Bubble Officer Tony Gwynn Jr. announces Soapy Joe's newest location is now open on Main Street off the 805 in Chula Vista. Visit their new location and join the Wash Club to get unlimited washes. Chula Vista Main Street is now open. Soapy Joe's is good, clean fun. I'm Kelly Danick with Gwynn and Chris, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
Am I healthy? Yeah, I'd say so. I take vitamins, get a flu shot every year. I like to stay on top of my health.
Staying on top of your health includes getting the latest COVID-19 vaccine, especially if you're over 65. Even if you've had COVID-19, the virus changes. The updated vaccine keeps you safe from the virus out there now, so you have the best chance of staying healthy and independent. Get the facts at worththeshot.org. That's worththeshot.org. Shared by the County of San Diego Health and Human Services Agency.
It's a solution.
Rev up the new year with a resolution that drives change at Team Kia of El Cajon. New Kia Forte LXS, just $217 per month lease. Or K5 LXS, just $309 per month. Both with zero security deposit and only $29.95 due at signing. So bring any trade, even if you owe up to $10,000 more than your old car is worth. Team Kia of El Cajon wants it. So you can drive home a new Kia for less with 0.9% APR financing on new 2023 Sorrentos. We know bad things happen to good people. Get pre-approved without affecting your credit from the comfort of your home, office, or anywhere in between.
You should be driving a Kia from El Cajon Kia to Kia of El Cajon.
Team Kia of ElCajon.com. On approved credit, not all will qualify, plus tax, title, license, and 150 title and registration processing. $29.95 due at signing. 24 months, 10,000 miles through KMF. Negative equity refinancing in the loan. 0.9% APR for 36 months through KMF. $27.77 for 1,000 finance. Rebates and incentives to dealer. Offers not in combination. Expires 2/2/24.
Ron White, live.
If your eyes go bad, you can have LASIK surgery and they can give you 20/20 vision. But let me tell you something, folks. You can't fix stupid.
Friday, March 15th, the Event Center at Harris Resort, Southern California. On sale Friday, 10 a.m. at Ticketmaster.com. Must be 21 or older to gamble. Know when to stop before you start. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. For mature audiences.
The smarter way to clean your floors. It's time to make the swap. Swiffer Power Mop.
Introducing the new Swiffer Power Mop, the all-in-one tool that gives you a mop and bucket clean in half the time. The solution's built right in, so no heavy bucket, and the pad has hundreds of scrubbing strips to get deep into grout. Don't mop harder, mop smarter.
Swiffer Power Mop. Swiffer Power Mop.
Progressive knows we're all trying to save right now.
Hey, at least we're still enjoying baseball on a Saturday night, right? Even if it is T-ball. Yeah, but tickets to the majors are just so expensive now. And who knows, maybe we're seeing a pro in the making.
Sure, in like 20 years. How is he safe? Boo! This ump stinks!
The ump is only 14. We don't really do that.
Oh, my bad. You're doing a great job, ump.
Progressive offers you savings without sacrifice. So save big when you bundle home and auto. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states.
We'll be right back in 2 minutes. Stick around for more Gwynn and Chris.
Get a 4.78% APR auto loan at California Coast Credit Union with no payments for 90 days. Offer valid with CalCoast Car Buying Service discount. Interest accrues immediately. Restrictions apply. Federally insured by NCUA. Visit calcoastcu.org.
This Friday, Jason Statham is the beekeeper.
The powerful and the corrupt are stealing from good people. What are you going to do with them? Well, that's between me and them, if you don't mind.
From the director of Suicide Squad and Fury.
He's a beekeeper. A special program outside the chain of command. The system is corrupt. I correct it.
Jason Statham.
We have laws for these things.
Until they fail, then you have me.
The Beekeeper, rated R, under 17, not admitted.
All right, welcome back to Gwynn and Chris. 3:20 is the time. Chris Ello, Tony Gwynn Jr., of course, Matt Skraby, and San Diego's #1 sports talk station, 97.3 The Fan. Of course, the Farmers Insurance Open coming up at Torrey Pines, Wednesday, January 24th through Saturday, January 27th. Just a couple of weeks away. What a lot of folks may not realize is that in conjunction with that, the Advocates Professional Golf Association, the APGA Farmers Insurance Invitational, also at Torrey Pines, January 27th and 28th. Joining us right now is Troy Taylor, 23-year-old golfer, part of that tour. Troy, welcome to the program. How are you today?
Good. How are you guys today? Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. We're pleased to have you on. Talk a little bit about the APGA Tour, the mission to bring greater diversity to the game by developing African Americans and other minorities for careers in golf. What has it meant to you? And tell us a little bit about what it's all about.
Yeah, APGA is not for me, but for all the other professional golfers that are part of the tour, getting to have the exposure at high-end golf courses like how we're going to have at Torrey Pines and put our games to the best test, but also giving us the opportunity to further our dream and make it to the PGA Tour. And APGA has meant so much to me. I've only been pro since July, just finishing college. So the things that they've done for me is awesome, but just to see how they help all my peers around me and try to chase our dreams and get to the PGA Tour, it's really, really special to just add color to the game of golf at the professional level.
Troy, how long has the APGA been around?
That is a great question. It's been around since, I would say, early 2000s. It's been around for a long time. They started out in LA just playing municipal courses and public courses, and we've expanded now to we're playing TPC Sawgrass, TPCs everywhere all across the country, going to play great courses like Torrey Pines and Valhalla, PGA places, and major championship places that they hold. So it's come such a long way, and with the great sponsors of Farmers helping us out so much, and also giving guys in the last 3 years a spot into the Farmers Insurance Open and being a title sponsor. It's been huge. So we've come a long way, and we couldn't have got there without sponsors like Farmers.
I'm glad we're able to, shine a little light on this tour. I mean, we're such a golf community here in San Diego, and of course, everybody gets excited for the Torrey Pines tournament. But I think it's important that we talk about, what you guys are doing, what your guys are accomplishing. Tiger Woods, I mean, he didn't set the pace, but he raised the bar for all golfers. And I think when he came on, I think people thought, a lot of, minorities would take up golf, a lot more minorities. Do you think that was the case? Do you think that everybody's taking full advantage of what the path that Tiger Woods helped pave for everybody?
Yeah, I think it definitely got more, not just African-American golfers in the game, but minorities in general. Seeing somebody like that, when you can see somebody on TV that looks like you and you can relate to them, and it makes you want to, pursue the game. If that means that the highest level, or just playing it as an am and just having fun with it. So for me, that's my biggest goal, and trying to have kids look at me and see other people that look like them and look up to, and get them in the game of golf. And that's why I'm so happy, partner with Farmers and be a part of them. Just because we have the same goal of, enhancing diversity and access to golf. And that's a huge passion of mine, trying to open up the doors for kids behind me. And that's their dream as well. So it's really, really special. So hopefully we continue that and give some kids to look up to on the tour and see somebody like them and get them in the game of golf.
Troy Taylor II joins us here on Gwynn and Chris. And Troy, I got to ask you, man, I mean, at what point did you know golf was going to be the thing that you pursued? Your father averaged 16 points at Michigan State playing some hoop.
Ohio State.
Excuse me. Ohio State.
Yeah.
That is a sin. I can't say that kind of thing about Michigan State. Yes, Ohio State. How did you know that golf was going to be your thing?
Yeah, it started off from a young age. They gave me a club when I was 3, a plastic club, and I eventually put a hole through that, and they got me a real club. And for me, it was more just getting to spend time with my dad on the golf course, and my mom would come out there. And I think it was the first thing I was introduced to, so it was my first love. And I played basketball, and I believe it was 7th grade. I sat my dad down. I was kind of scared to tell him, like, hey, like, I want to play golf. Like, this is my dream. And he's super supportive, didn't care at all. It went way better than I thought it was. But 7th grade, I saw guys on TV, and from playing junior golf, getting to travel and play and being a competitor, how I am, it was something that I wanted to do, and it's a love that I have. So that's kind of when it first kind of clicked for me. But I wanted to stay process driven and stay in the moment. So I was just kind of focused on being the best high school player I could be and trying to get a scholarship to college and just try to stay one step at a time. But I would say 7th grade was when I said this is something I want to do and try to be one of the best players in the world.
Now, I made the mistake of saying Michigan State. That's exactly where you went to school. How did you break that down to Pops that you were going to be headed to the Spartans as opposed to a Buckeye?
Yeah, it was interesting. I always thought I was going to be a Buckeye.
Okay.
My entire family, even on my mom's side, went to Ohio State, and it was definitely really hard. I remember telling my dad I woke up on Christmas Eve of my junior year, and I've been doing a pros and cons list, and I finally just told him, and he was with me during the recruiting process, but he stayed out of it, and I was really appreciative for that because he wanted me to make the best decision for me to be successful. And I told him, like, no, I'm going to go to Michigan State. And I just remember I started crying when I called the Ohio State coach and said I was going to Michigan State. But it was mixed emotions. But, yeah, Michigan State it was a great place. The athletic department, it's literally a family there. And my golf coaches there, my teammates, it made it feel like home for me. And that's why I went there. And I got to grow as a person, but also as a player. And wouldn't have traded that decision for the world. Still love my Buckeyes because I'm from Ohio, but Michigan State is where my heart is.
Troy Taylor, the Advocates Professional Golf Association, playing at Torrey Pines. Now, you played Torrey Pines here recently, or had a practice round?
Yeah.
Do you have any? I just wanted to ask you, if you have any advice for my friend Matt Skraby, our producer, who's going to be playing out there in the celebrity tournament I hear tomorrow.
Yeah, I would say make sure you hit that driver straight. The rough is very healthy out there, and it's gonna continue to grow over the next couple of weeks. They're gonna have it hard, and the greens are gonna get firm. But it's a golf course that tests every part of your game: short game, long game, and accuracy with your iron. So it'll be a true test. But I definitely think the first step is driving in those fairways. Because if you get in the rough, you're pretty much just hacking it out and trying to grind it out, and that's tiring over 18 holes. So it'll be good though. The course is in great shape. You can't beat the views. You can just turn to your left and see the beautiful Pacific Ocean. So you can't beat it. But yeah, I would just say make sure you hit that driver straight, or make sure you have some Popeye forearms to get it out of that rough.
Okay, well, I don't have a good driver or Popeye forearms, so I'm in trouble.
Troy, let me ask you about the different type of opportunities the APGA presents for you and other players as you try to establish yourself as professionals.
Yes, it's great getting to play the top end golf courses where you would go play a PGA Tour event or get to play in a major, and getting comfortable with that. I think that's the biggest thing that I've noticed in talking with other guys is a lot of it's being comfortable out there, seeing conditions like that, seeing firm greens, seeing thick rough, and understanding what parts of your game that you need to work on to get to that level. And the APGA has provided us with that, just getting to play top end courses, but also just having the exposure to have other people see how our talents are, but also getting great contact with companies like farmers. And if golf for some reason didn't work out, building those relationships and networking so you can possibly moving out of the game of golf, have a job with one of those companies. So just not on the golf course, but off the golf course, APGA has done so much for all of us. And just having a tour like that just put everything into us and believe in our future and our talent. It's very, very great. And I think just all of us just, want to, in return to them, make it to the PGA Tour and show all their belief in us was true. So it's been great.
Well, Troy, we look forward to seeing you on the PGA Tour, but we'll settle for watching on the APGA Tour come January 27th, 28th at Torrey Pines. Very nice getting a chance to meet with you, and best of luck to you going forward. And we hope we'll have you on as a PGA guest next year.
Perfect. That sounds like a plan. Thank you guys so much. It was awesome talking to you guys.
Thank you, Troy. Good luck, brother.
Thank you.
All right, there he goes, Troy Taylor II, a Michigan State grad who was a great college player and now trying to find his way onto the PGA Tour and this APGA Tour. Look, Tony, they're always talking about diversifying sports as best they can and as much as they can. It's a hell of a nice thing that, APGA is doing for these minorities to give them the opportunity to try and play these great courses and work their way up to the pros. I didn't really even know about this. I'm really happy to be exposed to it.
Yeah, no, and it's the real deal. Talking about final round for an APGA event. It's broadcast on the Golf Channel and on Peacock. And the players are
Chris. You can't. Oh
yes,
no,
Chris won't be able to watch.
No, I'm a subscriber now. This week, I'm a subscriber.
Tony, I told you not to bring it up.
and the players are competing for $100,000 purse. So this is the real deal. And you're right. You almost wish like this. I had heard about it earlier. It's been around since the early 2000s, according to Troy. So this is a good program. It seems like it's a good program, at least.
This is a good program, too. That being Gwynn and Chris. We'll take a short time out when we come back. Skraby's Big Five. No, I beg your pardon. Scott Miller. Miller from the New York Times to talk some baseball. Big Five's a little later on. But the show rolls on towards 6 o'clock. Stick around for more Gwynn and Chris on the way.
Gwynn and Chris on the Fan.
Let's go to Brock out in Carlsbad. Brock.
Hey, happy update. Try to be smooth and think about something good to say. I've always been a Friar faithful, always had the passion over all the other sports, and I'm just stoked. I'm speechless, and I'll tell you, my friends will say I'm never speechless. So that's all it's for, boys. Have a good
join us here shortly, talk a little baseball, a little Padres, a little free agency, a little baseball landscape in general. I haven't talked to Scott in a while. Looking forward to talking to him a little bit. That was pretty cool talking about that APGA. I had really never heard of it until you hit us up over the weekend about having Troy on to talk about it a little bit.
I mean,
how did you stumble across it?
Well, I have become good with the PR guy for Farmers Insurance, and so he emailed me asking if we'd be interested in having him on, and I read up on it a little bit, and I was like, yeah, I mean, these guys are playing on big time TV.
That's got to be a thrill. And now for Troy, he played at Michigan State, so I'm sure they played on some pretty cool courses but this is like the big leagues.
This is,
right here.
I mean, it's big leagues. You heard him. He said, I need Popeye forearms, and I don't have Popeye forearms.
Yeah. So you're saying you're gonna hit him straight, is what you're telling us, Did. So you don't have to.
I'm gonna try.
Yeah.
I mean, I wanted to ask him, do you guys have ball spotters on the course? Because honestly, if you hit the ball into the rough, it's impossible to find it. It's so hard to find the ball.
I will say, from my own experience, going, when I really accelerated Scott Scheffler's
Scotty Scheffler,
career.
When you played in the pro-am with Scotty Scheffler,
there were times where I definitely, I literally watched the ball go in the rough and could not find it at all. That's how thick that grass is.
You could hit it 10 yards and you won't be able to find it. It's ridiculous.
It's
maddening.
The commercial, these guys are good. It holds true.
They also have good ball spotters too. So
what exactly is a ball spotter?
I actually did. You gave me that position. Remember in 2020, I was there as a volunteer for the tournament because there was no fans allowed. But you stand in the middle of the fairway basically, and you wait for the ball to go down, and then someone goes and looks for it, puts a flag down so that they can come right up to it and not have to look for it.
You put it in the ground.
Yeah, like a little flag right next to the ball. But I got to do that in 2020 because you couldn't go. Remember my shoe squeaked as Rory Sabatini was putting, and he gave me the dirtiest look I have ever seen in my life.
I remember you telling us the story when you
it
came
was
in.
Brutal because it was wet outside, and I was wearing these shoes that squeak a lot, and I should have thought about that. But I moved my foot on the grass and went, and the guy is putting, and he looks up at me and he gives me a death stare.
That is hilarious. All right, let's jump to our phone lines. Before we do that, let's check a little traffic.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
He reports of some debris across lanes, northbound 805 right before the 15, and stalled car in the eastbound 52 to 125. It's in the center divide. I'm Kelly Danick with Gwynn and Chris, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
Back here on Gwynn and Chris, currently getting Scott Miller on the line as we speak. Talk a little Padre baseball. It's been a little bit since we had a chance to catch up with Scott. Should be a fun conversation. And without further ado, let me bring on Scott Miller. Scott, how are you, man? How are you? It's been a while since we spoke. Excuse me.
It has been. Happy New Year, Tony. Hope you're well. I hope everything's great. Matt, Happy New Year to you and to all the listeners.
Indeed. We appreciate Happy New Year to you as well. Let's start with the Padres. It's been relatively quiet for them this offseason. I think we kind of knew that was going to be the case when the reports came out that they were going to, have to cut payroll a little bit from where it was last year. But all in all, given where they are, there's still some holes to fill. How have you assessed their offseason to this point?
Yeah, I mean, they're like team mystery in the majors, right? I mean, we knew they were going to have cut payroll. They haven't said exactly how much. With, the tragic passing of Peter Seidler, we don't know exactly the direction of the team. I know Eric Katsenda, Seidler's business partner, is the controlling owner, but there's not much information about him. You go, as Tony, you go in this game on track records, whether it's guys on the field, you look at the numbers year after year, whether it's the guy leading baseball operations in the front office, like AJ Preller, we have a track record, right? We know he's in on everything. He's aggressive. He's creative. He figures out ways to get talent here. But we don't have a track record anymore right now as we speak for ownership and the direction they're going to go. We know, like you said, we know where they're going to cut some costs. So I refer to the Padres as team mystery. This winner because of everything I just said, and we don't know for sure about ownership and where they're going to lead the team. And as a result, they've signed Yuki Matsui, the closer from Japan.
Yeah.
Woo Suk Go, who was a closer in Korea. And same thing, these two are going to come in with covered in mystery, right? We know Matsui's, both of them have really good numbers, but it's a big transition from the Japanese league to the.
Scott, you still there with us?
Uh-oh. We'll have to call Scott back here.
Uh-oh.
Lost him in the middle of what was sounding like a good answer. You still there?
Scott, can you hear us?
We making a comeback?
Yes, we're making a comeback.
All right. You know what? My bad on this end. I had my AirPods in, and they might be running low on batteries. So this is direct connection now. So let's. So anyway, and the mysteriousness of bringing in two of your key relievers from Japan and Korea. There's always an adaptation to the new league. So I think there's still a lot to like for the Padres. I know I might be in the minority, but I think trading Juan Soto was a good move. To me, he's the most overrated superstar I've seen in a long time. I think getting the pitchers back, like Michael King and Randy Vasquez, they've got to get some starting pitching behind Musgrove and Darvish, and they've at least got some names from that perspective.
Talking to Scott Miller, New York Times, here on Gwynn and Chris. I
forgot the name of our show, man.
I did for a second.
I know you've been doing the Skraby show the last couple of days, but you've been on Gwynn and Chris for a while.
Yes, I have 6 years to be exact. But he's joining us on Gwynn and Chris, and we were talking about this a little bit earlier. You talked about Juan Soto being traded, but Ha-Seong Kim has been a huge. He's been a name that has been bantied about here recently about trading him. I think we don't personally feel like they should trade him right now. But what are your thoughts on trading Ha-Seong Kim?
Yeah, I mean, he's really, arguably, he was the most valuable player of the team last year, right? So I'd be careful there. I think he's a couple years into his major league career, he's gotten better and better. I like his energy. I mean, on a team that underachieved last year and oftentimes looked, like they were kind of dead in the water, Ha-Seong Kim brought energy. I know it gets a little dicey. He gets more expensive. I mean, he signed for this year, and then 2025, there's a $8 million mutual team and player option. $8 million this year, and then the $8 million option for 25. So theoretically, depending on how much the payroll must continue to be cut, we know Bogarts and Machado and Tatis, those guys are going to get more and more expensive, and they're here long term. So, I wouldn't trade Kim in a minute unless you're looking ahead and you're like, we're not even going to be able to afford that $8 million option for 2025. I mean, if internally you're making that decision, then I think you probably have to look at trading him. But whether they're, going to make that decision internally or not, who knows? Only the Padres are going to know, what the future with him holds. But yeah, I'd be very wary of trading Kim just because, he's that spark plug to me, man. He's the igniter.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think outside of guys named Machado, Tatis, Bogarts, Darvish, Musgrove, he probably has the most value. But as Scott mentioned, he was the spark plug for this ball club in a lot of ways last year. Scott Miller joins us here, New York Times. And Scott, let me ask you, because this offseason has been high frequency in terms of the dollars spent. And I thought after coming out of the collective bargaining agreement where you saw all those deals, you feel like you start to see it come to level out at some point. But it still feels like price tags are pretty high across the board in free agency once again.
It does. I've been surprised by some of this. I mean, even projections for, and I know he's in a different league than everybody else, right? But Shohei Ohtani, projections for him during the summer were like, he'll probably get a $500 million contract, maybe a little bit north of that. But, when the smoke cleared, he got $700 million. I know a lot of it was deferred. But, I mean, Yeah. So for the top tier guys, the money's been there, but it's interesting that it's just, we talked about the Padres being slow, having a slow winter, but they're not the only ones. I mean, once I know a lot of people were waiting for Ohtani, but and Yamamoto. But yeah, I mean, you've still got the Cy Young winner from this year. Blake Snell is sitting out there, and that's been really quiet. Josh Hader, really quiet. Cody Bellinger coming off a really nice comeback year with Cubs last year. Been crickets around Cody Bellinger. Matt Chapman, he's just 30 and still in his prime, and good past couple years with Toronto, and that's been quiet too. So. There's a lot of work to be done when you figure spring training really is starting to come into view in about just over a month. There's a lot of guys out there still, and there's a lot of like marquee impact players still out there.
I'm curious, Scott, is Chapman a Boris guy?
That is a good question.
Because it makes sense that Snell and Bellinger are waiting, because those are both Boris guys who, Boris usually he'll wait you out. And I've been surprised by how, even here at January 10th, Blake Snell, it hasn't even seemed like the field is narrowed at all. And Chapman is, yes, Skraby.
You're right.
Chapman is a Boris guy. So, I mean, it's kind of crazy to me that the amount of money Yamamoto got hadn't pitched in the big leagues over here yet at this point. But Blake Snell, two-time Cy Young Award, still waiting on that January here on January 10th. Now, I asked a couple of days ago, we had Alden Gonzalez, and I asked him, did he think Yamamoto's number has slowed the process down? Because as you mentioned, in the same way Ohtani, no one predicted Yamamoto was going to get $300+ million. But do you think that slowed Snell's,
I do,
process down?
Yeah, I do. And, especially because, again, you mentioned some of these holdouts are Boris guys, and, he'll take them right up to the end right before spring training. And he's going to get the top dollar he can get, out of everybody. And I mean, I do think that some of the money, being given, especially to Yamamoto, you look at, if I'm representing, if I'm Scott Boras, I look at Snell and I'm like, look, this guy's won 2 Cy Young
100%.
Awards, and he's done it in the major leagues, and he's done it for winning teams. He helped Tampa Bay get to the World Series in 2020. He helped the Padres get to the NLCS in 2022. And, this guy's, again, we started out the conversation by talking about track records, right? This guy's he's a proven commodity. He's got a proven track record. And, Yamamoto hasn't thrown a pitch one in the major league so far. So I do think that has slowed things down some in the starting pitching market. I don't think there's any doubt.
Talking to Scott Miller, New York Times, here on Gwynn and Chris. Tony, 97.3 The Fan remembered this time. I'm not going to complain about deferrals. I've already done enough of complaining about deferrals. I know the Dodgers didn't do anything wrong. But what I want to know is if you have any indication, or if you've talked to people about whether or not players are if they're deferral friendly, or if they come in and the player has to bring it up to the team. Do you know how that goes down?
Most guys want their money up front.
That's what I said. Yeah.
Yeah. They don't want it deferred. I mean, the only way you're going to get it deferred, or if you're a player, the only incentive to get deferred money is if it's with significant interest, right? Like if I'm getting my money backloaded over the next 10 years, I want in years 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I don't want that in today's dollars. It's like, look, if you're going to hold out on the money, you're going to make the interest. That money's going to grow for you, Los Angeles Dodgers or New York Yankees or whoever you are. Then I shouldn't get shorted when you give me the money you agreed to give me like 8 years from now. You need to, make the adjustments for the cost of living adjustments and the interest adjustments and all that. So I don't see deferrals becoming a huge thing unless just under special circumstances. And obviously Otani's one. And, as Nesbalello, his agent, said, he may only be getting $2 million a year for the next several years while he defers, all that gazillion dollars. But, Bilal made that important point. This is also a guy he's going to be getting $40 to $50 million in endorsement
off the field
fees every year too.
Yeah.
So it's not like he's getting $2 million and then the rest of it's all coming 10 years from now and he's going to be short. I mean, Otani, I don't think you can really compare. And yeah, it was benevolent of him to, if you believe, all parties concerned there, it was Otani's idea to defer the money because he wants to win. He's always wanted to win. He's like, look, if I defer some of my money, I'm going to get the endorsements anyway. And I defer money, and that means the Dodgers can buy more players right now to help us win. Most players aren't in that situation. No. The only ones I'd say are, your top tier superstar players, like Blake Snell's made him, his millions. I'm not saying he's going to be all happy about deferred money, but, you'd have to be, even take like Manny Machado, right? Guys that already made their first giant contract and now they're signing their second giant contract or an extension of that. I think those are going to be and I'm not even saying Machado will be interested in deferred money, but I'm saying that's the type of player that I think would agree to the deferred money or be amenable to it. And I don't think there are that many of those guys around.
Yeah, I certainly agree. There's a reason why we don't hear about deferrals all that often because guys, they want their money pronto. Scott, appreciate you coming on, man. It's been a while. We're going to do this again here soon.
Sounds good. Look forward to it, guys. Take care.
Scott Miller, New York Times on Gwynn and Chris there. Let's get to break. We got the 4 o'clock hour coming. Chris versus the fans.
Gwynn versus the fans today.
Gwynn versus the fans.
I don't know why I'm talking like this.
I don't know why either.
It's the radio voice here on 97.3 The Fan.
288-0973.
I'm weird.
Hey, it's Annie from Annie and Elston. Sure, we'll talk Padres baseball every day,
your chance to qualify for our grand prize. 2 tickets to Tom Kiefer and LA Guns.
2 tickets.
I don't know what's going on right now with my mouth. 2 tickets to Tom Kiefer and LA Guns on April 11th.
I don't know what's going on with my mouth right now.
I really don't know what's going on with it. And a 2-night stay at Westgate Las Vegas Resort Casino. Get ready for an electrifying night of rock and roll as 2 iconic bands, Tom Kiefer and LA Guns, come together to perform live on April 11th at Westgate International Theater at Westgate Las Vegas Resort Casino. Get tickets now at Ticketmaster.com. The Westgate Las Vegas Resort Casino features newly designed premier rooms, part of their $70 million room renovation home of legendary Vegas fun. Now, I know on the Skraby show, you covered this a little bit, but we did not cover it because it came with about 30 minutes left in the show, and you were kind of holding on to it for your show.
I wasn't holding on to it.
I was willing to let you go ahead and do that. But we should talk about it. Julio Urias, the LA prosecutors have decided they will not be pursuing the more serious charges. It sounds like he's going to be charged with a misdemeanor, which is good for him in terms of regular life. In terms of baseball, I don't think it matters. And I don't know if you went over this. Probably about 7 years ago now, Major League Baseball, I don't know if it's a rule, but they decided that there is going to be separate punishments for domestic cases specifically. And it wasn't going to be contingent on whether you were convicted or not. And we've seen that kind of work itself out, whether it's Marcell Ozuna. I think there was no case ever brought against him. Trevor Bauer, no case ever brought against him. Both of those guys were suspended for substantial time.
Mm-hmm.
So I say that to say, although it's good news for Julio Urias that he's not going to be, hit with more serious charges in terms of baseball, I still don't see it going well. I would be surprised if he plays in 2024.
Oh, really? The whole year?
I think so.
Wow. Because this is his second incident with this.
Yes.
So I assume the penalties escalate as you do more of these. But I talked about it last night and
on the Skraby show.
Yeah, on the Skraby show.
6 to 7.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
I was going to give you a shameless plug so you didn't have to do it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So I don't have to look so shameless. No, but I was saying last night that I don't know what his market is anymore because he's a free agent. And I didn't even put the Padres out there because I don't think the Padres are doing this or even kicking the tires. And in Dennis Lynn's mailbag, he said that he has heard that Trevor Bauer is a no-go for the Padres as well.
The interesting part is, and I don't know if this is anecdotal or not. I don't have any evidence, but it feels like even though Trevor Bauer wasn't accused of domestic violence, so to speak,
mm-hmm.
It feels like he is going to be judged more harshly than Julio Urias right now.
I wonder,
because
I don't know why that is.
Trevor Bauer has been out of baseball now for
almost
2
years.
This is going into the third.
I would have to look back, but it's been a while.
Perception is a lot of this, and the perception, at least, and I don't know why that is that Trevor Bauer has done something worse, which actually, in terms of evidence, is not actually true.
Yeah, that is strange because there's actual, police filings in the Julio Urias.
Doesn't mean that Trevor's not guilty of doing something bad in terms of, how we treat human beings on a normal basis. But it's interesting. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out. Julio Urias was a huge part of the Dodgers rotation. It was part of the reason why they probably have said, we're going to have to go out and spend this money, because
thanks, Julio.
It's one thing to have Walker Buehler and Julio Urias in the fold, but only having one of those guys, that may have led to a lot of the spending that we've seen here. So,
and then you got Wander Franco, who
I won't be surprised. His problems are big because he's not actually in the country.
Yeah.
And it's likely he won't be allowed back in with the the case that's being held against him right now. You know, he's not living in the States. He went back home to the Dominican, so he's gonna have to get a visa to get over here. And they typically don't give.
They don't let criminals in the country, or
typically
perceived
don't do that.
criminals.
Right? They typically don't do that. So, two of honestly, like two of the bigger stars, young stars in the game, are likely not to be a part of the game in 2024. Is my prediction. I could be wrong. We'll see how that all plays out. Meanwhile, we do have a Gwynn versus the fans coming your way right now.
If you had one shot, one opportunity to take down the human almanac himself, now is your time.
Listen to me, this guy is dangerous.
Now is your opportunity to win a prize.
Well, I hope you know what you're in for.
Gwynn versus the fans starts now on 97.3 The Fan.
All right. I want to say Tony already read the qualification prize, but I want to throw in another pair of tickets right now because you are going to have.
Just throwing in
I'm
tickets?
just throwing them in.
All right.
If you win Gwynn versus the fans today, you will be qualified for that trip to Las Vegas. You will also win a pair of tickets to tomorrow's UCSD versus Long Beach State basketball game at Lion Tree Arena. Grab tickets now at UCSDTritons.com.
Long Beach State can play a little bit.
Are they the 49ers?
49ers / dirt bags.
I didn't want to say it.
Their baseball team has the dirt bag. I don't know why they have different mascots, but yes, they're known as both.
Okay. All right. I always found the 49ers one a little strange, but dirtbag is pretty strange.
That's because
too.
you're a 49er fan.
No,
Skraby.
I found it strange. Like, there wasn't Gold Rush in Long Beach, was there?
I don't know. I wasn't here around that time.
Well, I'm going to have to go look this up now because I'm a history nerd. So that's what we're going to have to do.
You made the claim. So.
I did. All right. Let's get to the contestant. I have to read the rules. You have to make it through 3 questions. Each question will get more difficult as you go along. If you get the question right, you move on. If you get the question wrong and Tony gets it right, you're eliminated. But if Tony gets it wrong, then you move on to the next question or you win. If you're a first-time player,
dang, sorry.
But it's okay.
My watch beat just as you got ready to do it.
It's okay. If you're a first-time player, let us know before you get into the first question, and you will get that question for free.
The hits have already started coming for Alabama. Already their first 5-star recruit decommits, wide receiver Ryan Williams.
Wow. I mean, does that really have that big of a? I guess it does.
It does. I mean, think about it. Since he's called retirement, they've been doing like, the same montage they do when somebody like passes away. They're doing that right now for Saban. So it's a big deal. He hasn't passed away, obviously. Yeah. He's retired, but yeah, it's a big deal.
All right. Downfall of Alabama. Here we come.
Here it comes.
We should call up our friend Skylar.
I was just about to say we're gonna have to check on Skylar before
she might be a little upset.
This day's over with.
All right, let's go to our first contestant, Rod in San Diego.
What's up, Rod?
How are you?
Hey, pleasure, guys. Happy 24 and 0-2 and 23. Going to change that right now.
All right.
I like it.
All right. I like the record. Here we go, Rod. Question number 1. I think this might be an unfair question, but it's there. What coach just retired from Alabama today?
I knew that's what you were about to
Oh, man. I'm a big Bama fan. Met Nick Saban back in 07. Great guy. And, that's my answer, Nick Saban.
All right. Tell me, how sad are you?
How fat am I?
No, sad. No, sad. SAD.
Oh, I'm crushed. I was just texting my buddy in Mobile, and I told him, man, I expected 2 more years, but I guess we'll get someone else.
Yeah, you definitely will.
Yeah.
And they're going to be
I'm
good
sure
coach.
they'll be lining up.
Yes.
So.
They're already there. They're already outside the athletic director's office. All right, Rod, here we go. Question number 2. Pete Carroll was the head coach of 3 NFL teams, including Seattle.
Oh, man, these are going to be guesses. Pete Carroll out of USC. I want to say he tried Miami. Do I have to name 2, Skraby, since you got the third one?
Yes.
Okay. And then we'll go with the Cardinals, Arizona. And then I'll say Jets.
You got one of them right, actually, Rod, but I'm not going to tell you which one. Tony, do you know which other 2 NFL teams he coached?
Unfortunately for Rod, I do.
Oh.
Jets, Patriots, Seahawks.
That is correct. Sorry, Rod. Thank you for calling.
I think it was with the Patriots. He gave the choke sign after the play, and then his kicker ended up missing
Choking?
choking. Yeah.
That is pretty
That
hilarious.
wasn't one of Pete's better moments for sure.
No, he does get a little fired up from time to time.
Dan Lanning is a name being mentioned for the Alabama job. He is the Oregon coach. $20 million buyout in order to get him there. I think Alabama can afford it.
I think they can, but it's ridiculous. All right, let's go to Ron. You are up, Ron. How are you? Sorry, say that one more time.
I'm doing good. I'm
Okay.
ready to give it an attempt here.
All right, that
Let's do it.
sounds good. Here we go. Question number 1. Stephen A. Smith works for what company?
Well, I'm just going to guess ESPN.
Correct. It's Stephen A. Smith on one today. All right, question number 2. If you were an NFL fan, what team featured the Legion of Boom?
Oh my God, I know this one. Oh, I can't remember. Let's guess the Raiders.
The Raiders. I know Tony knows this. I'm sorry, Ron.
Seahawks.
Yeah. LOB.
LOB.
Never forget Richard Sherman screaming.
I was just about to quote Richard Sherman too.
Crabtree. That's all I can say right now is Crabtree. Who's talking about you? Crabtree. It's one of the wildest interviews I think I've ever seen.
Remember how much flack he got for being overly aggressive with Aaron Edwards? Like he just stuck a mic in his face right after he just knocked the ball away. What did you expect?
And he hates Michael Crabtree.
Michael Crabtree was picked on by a lot of people. Remember,
I think maybe that was his own doing.
Remember Aqib Talib ripped his necklace off during the game?
Michael Crabtree was a disappointment in the NFL, I would think.
I don't know about that. It's a strong word.
He held out with the 49ers until like week 8 or week 9 or something like that his rookie year. He was never the same. I was so pumped. Never mind. It's not about the 49ers now.
Here you go.
Let's go to Lance.
Lance, what's up, man?
Hey, how's it going?
Good.
Going well.
You ready to play?
I am.
All right, here we go. Question number 1. On the Lakers logo, this is kind of unfair, but it's question number 1. On the Lakers logo, what is behind the text of Los Angeles Lakers?
Basketball.
A basketball is correct. All right, question number 2. What team just beat the number 1 basketball team in the country last night, Purdue?
Nebraska.
Nebraska is correct.
I'm actually glad you got that because I would have missed it. So it's better that you got it than me missing it.
All right, here we go. You get this right. Tony gets it wrong. You qualified for the trip to Las Vegas, and you get those UCSD basketball tickets. Here's question number 3. This season's Super Bowl is in Las Vegas. Where is next season's Super Bowl?
This is going to be a complete guess. Let's go with Indianapolis.
Indianapolis. That is a good guess because it has hosted the Super Bowl, but not next year. Stay there.
Where was it at last year?
Where was it last year?
I don't remember.
It was indoor.
I don't think you can go wrong with a place like Miami.
Welcome to Miami. Incorrect! You are the winner, Lance. Good job.
Nice work, Lance.
Hey! Stay on the line. I'm going to get your information in the break. The answer is New Orleans, unfortunately.
New Orleans.
For like the billionth time.
I'll tell you what, man. That's got some great food there. Great food. First thing
I've never been.
Never been to New Orleans?
No. You would think I've been to New Orleans, but I have never been to New Orleans.
Huh.
It would
had to get you some credentials for that Super Bowl, maybe. Talk to Adam Klug.
Adam, get on it.
Let's get
trying to figure out. Hold on, I'm trying to figure out where the Super Bowl was last year because this is kind of stupid that I don't.
It was indoor. Was it Phoenix? It was
That's
Phoenix,
what it
right?
was. I just saw it too. Yeah,
All
you
right.
got it right.
Let's get to break. 4:15, right? my Lakers are not in action today, of course, because they were in action last night. Picked up their second straight win, took down the Toronto Raptors.
They turn it around?
I'm not doing that.
You're not,
because too often I say, no, this is it, and then it's not it.
It's
not it at all. So but the Lakers did get a nice victory yesterday. We talked a little bit about earlier, a little controversy. Toronto Raptors head coach was not happy with the refereeing in that game, and it's just a big hang with him.
Sometimes I just need a good old coach temper tantrum.
He was definitely he dropped a couple BSs, the real words.
That's my favorite.
So he was definitely hot and bothered about it. So, but nonetheless,
you speaking of the Lakers, you sent me earlier an article about LeBron and Bronny having a trading card.
I thought this was pretty cool. What is it? Fanatics? Fanatics.
Yeah.
They have come to a deal with LeBron and Bronny to put a card together that has both of them, and I thought it was pretty cool because I got to do something along the same lines with my dad when he was when I was playing. There was one card, and I'm pretty sure it was a mistake.
Those are valuable.
They did a card where it was me with my dad's signature.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And immediately one of the things that stood out about my dad, besides the fact that he was left-handed, he had really good penmanship, and I don't have really good penmanship. So it was pretty cool to see his signature, or it was a pretty cool card to have his signature.
Cool.
But
I collect coins for here and there. I'm not like a big nerd or anything like that, but my grandpa gave me a bunch of coins. So I learned one thing about coins that translates into the rest of the world. If something is a mistake, it's immediately valuable.
Yeah.
So I'm looking for the Wisconsin quarter with only one corn cob on it, because there's supposed to be two or three, but there's one minting that was just one corn cob. But same thing could go for this card.
Yeah.
If someone finds you with your dad's signature,
there's
to that.
Much more than two of them out there, because I saw them a lot. I was like, yo, this is not my signature. I wish my penmanship looked as good, but it doesn't. Draymond Green back in action he's not going to be back in action tonight. His Golden State Warriors are back in action tonight, but I mentioned a little bit yesterday before we went off. Listening to him talk about his time away does seem like it actually had an effect. I actually heard him say, I've cost this team enough games at this point.
Wow.
I'm ready to to change it over.
Wow.
That's a big deal.
Do you believe it?
I actually do.
Really?
Because I've never heard him talk like this.
Okay,
ever.
That's a good point.
It's not the first time he's been suspended. He's a frequent suspension guy.
Yes, frequent technical guy.
And he's also a double and triple down guy. I haven't heard any of that this time around, and that makes me think that this last suspension caught his attention.
Yeah, I would hope so, because to me, when I heard, okay, I'm a different guy, it's like guys don't change in 3 weeks.
Right. That's also true.
Perspective changes people more so than being away from the team for 3 weeks.
And I thought of you when I heard him say this. He said it was so refreshing to hear, how are you feeling, and what, I can't remember the second part, but that was what the therapist asked him in their first session together.
I wonder if he ever had therapy before, because
I don't think he had, based on how he seemed to be talking about it.
Because honestly, therapy was, and I've said this on the show many times, therapy is huge and critical for me. I go once a month, and I used to go once a week, but it's a perfect place to go and talk to someone who has no skin in the game in your life. They can give you an unbiased opinion on things, maybe call you out for things that you're wrong for, and help you guide you through those things. So I appreciate that.
Therapy is good. And I, in the Black community, especially, for a long time, it was perceived as a bad thing, somewhat of a point of weakness, if you will, having to go.
Oh, yeah.
It's nice to see that stigma start. It hasn't fully faded away, but it's starting to fade away.
I could feel that like you said before, it was people who go to therapy are weak. Now I could feel some people thinking, if you don't go to therapy, you're
100%. The thought process is changing around it. But it wouldn't be a Draymond Green article conversation without a few barbs sent somebody's way. Stephen A caught one. Stephen A during that suspension had, I don't know if he was intentionally doing it, but he kind of insinuated that, maybe there's something wrong with Steph Curry's leadership, because he brought that up by saying, if it were LeBron James' teammate doing this thing frequently, what would we be saying about LeBron at this point? Would we would be being critical of him if the shoe was on his foot.
He would never be as big of a superstar if LeBron was like Draymond, like Steph. I'm sorry. Yes. I see what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so I think Draymond took issue with the fact that Steph is taking shots because of his action. He acknowledged that. It pissed me off, the fact that Stephen A was saying this. However, my actions are the reason why he's even in the crossfire to begin with. So
that is therapy.
There's a lot of things I heard from Draymond that I was like, yo, this is
gross.
This is not the same guy.
And honestly, maybe
I wonder though how that translates on the court, because that same thing that makes him a Looney Tune when he's not playing basketball is it's one of the things I think that makes him go as a basketball player.
Well, when he gets out on the court, every player is going to try to get under his skin.
You know that.
And he's going to be baited, and he's going to have to do his best not to do anything because he has to be on his best behavior. But maybe now he's like a Zen guy, and he'll just walk away from it. I really don't think the first cheap shot someone takes on him, I really don't think he's going to be able to hold back from getting in that person's face.
I think we're going to see a lot of dudes try to try him, though, to try to see if they'll get him to kind of leap and go back to the dark side again.
I hope he doesn't.
I hope he doesn't too, because Draymond is he's a really good player, and when he's not, slapping somebody, kicking somebody, he seems like he's a really good teammate and good leader.
Yeah,
or when he's not punching somebody out. Too. I forgot about that.
Yeah, the last incident was probably it was enough. Like, I'm glad the NBA did what they did, because he said his arms were flailing, which it clearly was not flailing arms.
It's one thing to punch out Jordan Poole on some things he said that were over the line.
Yeah,
but to completely backslap somebody who's guarding you playing the game. That's probably where
a little much
there.
I have two things from the chat about baseball cards. Tony, this is from Adam. Tony, the card you speak of with your dad's signature was just shown recently in a Tony Gwynn collectors group I belong to. So there you go. There's one out there.
It's a Brewers spring training at bat with my dad's signature on there.
So it's a Brewers card?
Yeah,
that's even more crazy.
And it's a Brewers card.
The other one was, Tony, I have a 24 karat gold team gold card of your dad. Your pops is a true San Diego legend from Chance.
I appreciate that, Chance. Those cards, I was really into baseball cards for a very, very long time. And, baseball cards aren't what they're
making a comeback.
They are trying to. But
remember, Matt Strom had a TV show.
I feel like baseball cards do this. They've been doing this for a while. Like, ever since they've fallen off, they make this comeback, and you want to get behind it. I mean, remember a few years ago we had the what was that? An upper?
It was Upper Deck.
Was it Upper Deck? No, it wasn't Upper Deck.
It wasn't
for a while.
Tops. Was it Tops?
I don't remember, but they were doing the specialized cards. We were having the different artists on here.
Yeah.
And I still have a bunch of those cards, but I haven't seen them, really out.
Tops, I think, tried to do.
Maybe it's because I'm old too. I'm not really into the cards. Yeah.
I can't remember if Tops or Upper Deck did it, but they really tried to get digital trading cards.
They're having a hard time with Nick Saban's retirement. Did somebody TP'd the trees? It looked like.
I mean, come on, people, it's okay.
They still TP houses.
Oh my goodness, a house down the street from me got it so good recently.
I'm afraid that you TP somebody's house in 2024, they might come looking for you.
I really felt bad for this person because it just rained too.
And so all the TP
was in the trees and all of that. But anyway, Tops and Upper Deck, they tried to start digital trading cards because you can collect Pokemon, but I'm not a digital guy. I mean, I can't hold
it. The whole point of the whole point of what made the card cool is that you had it. It was in your hand.
Hey, look at this. I got this limited edition, and you're showing the phone. I'm like, I don't care about that.
Get that on my phone all the time. All right, let's get to break. Got a big five coming your way. Jackson Merrill. It's a name you may hear on Open Today.
Ooh.
We'll talk about it. More Gwynn and Chris.
Ben and Woods on the Fan.
Annie and Elston. 10:35. Mike Schilt will join them.
Nice.
It's a good get.
That is a huge get.
Mike Schilt will join Annie and Craig tomorrow. Should be a good interview. Mike is always a fun interview to have.
We're starting off the year right with our Padres. We got Michael King, we got Mike Schilt, all this good stuff.
More to come. All right, let's get to our big five first. Here's some traffic.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Traffic is sponsored by Viejas Casino and Resort. Any reports of a hit-and-run crash on northbound 5 just before Mile of Carsway. No details as to whether that is blocking any lanes. Accident has cleared in the East County, eastbound 8, just past Greenfield. Stalled car on the Tamarack off-ramp, southbound 5. It's over the right shoulder. We still have this vehicle fire on northbound 15 past the 56, kind of over the right shoulder of the HOV lane. Viejas Casino and Resort is home to the best players, and My Viejas. Start earning points toward incredible rewards like free gifts, concert tickets, hotel stays, dining discounts, and more. It's time to ditch the other guys and join the best. My Viejas Players Club, Viejas Casino and Resort. I'm Kelly Danick with Gwynn Chris, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
It's that time of the show when we check on the latest in sports. Only the most important topics and questions are brought to light.
Stop what you're doing and listen.
These news stories will astound and amaze you. The one, the only.
Oh my God, who the hell cares?
The Big Five starts now on 97.3 The Fan.
All right, the Big Five. I'm going to start with a question I think you guys are probably going to hate because it's a way too early question.
Number 5.
And here we go. In a way too early question for you guys, I was reading the Dennis Lynn mailbag this morning on The Athletic, and he talks about some of the minor leaguers that could be contributors on the Padres big league team this year. The big names of Jackson Merrill and Jacob Marcy were mentioned as possibilities, but Chris, do you think a big name prospect will make the opening day roster?
That's way too early.
I knew you were going to say that, but I took that out of the question when I admitted it was way too early.
I know. I'm just kidding. Yeah, I do. I do. I think a couple of prospects are going to make this roster. The way it's currently constructed, they're going to have some young people on this roster. I mean, they don't have all 26 spots filled, as of right now. And I think they might get a couple more of them filled before the season starts, either with a trade somewhere or a couple of more signings. But yeah, I think it's a golden opportunity for some young players to come up and show what they can do. Maybe, opening day sometimes is a stretch, but I think you're going to see a lot of these guys throughout the season. I think that's just going to be the kind of year it's going to be.
Yeah, I think so too, Chris. I think you hit spot on. Tony, do you think any of the big name prospects will make the opening day roster?
Big name prospects, a la Jackson Merrill,
Jacob Marcy.
No, I don't think. It depends. I think Chris's original answer is actually correct, which is it's too early. Also in that mailbag, also in that mailbag, it was mentioned that Ha-Seong Kim may have to be a trade target. Now, if he's traded before opening day, absolutely one of those rookies will be on the roster. Probably Jackson Merrill. However, considering Manny Machado isn't supposed to be back at the beginning of the season, at least for now, I don't think they moved Kim. Therefore, I don't think there's a rookie on at least the prospects that we are talking about today.
Yeah. If Ha-Seong Kim gets traded before the Korea game, that's it can't happen. You cannot trade Ha-Seong Kim before the Korea game.
Yes, you can.
No, you can't.
I think you can.
Yes, you can. If it's good for your ball club and you get the right players.
You still have
baseball's going to be like,
You still got Mr. Go.
That's true. Go. That's true. But I think we all know that Ha-Seong Kim is like the star of this return to Korea.
Because he plays for our team. That's how we view it.
Yeah, that's how we might view it. But I'm going to pretty sure that ESPN's going to promote some guy named Ohtani for that game.
Believe it.
I don't even care about that guy. He's not going to pitch.
Skraby, I know we are in the mode of hate that team, and I'm with it. But we also have to, acknowledge the fact that they are not going to, in all likelihood, when ESPN rolls their first commercial,
Ha-Seong Kim and the San Diego Padres return to Korea to take on the Dodgers.
I understand what you guys are saying, but I have to go back and look at some of the posters because I would believe that Ha-Seong Kim is on the poster with a Dodger.
Listen, I can tell you for a fact because it happens here. It happened here in San Diego a few times. You know, they hang up those posters before opening day.
Yeah.
Players are on there. And then sometime during that season, they get traded. They don't take those down. Those stay up there the whole time.
They do?
Oh, yeah. I saw Eric
Hosmer
up downtown for quite some time before that actually came down.
Someone didn't steal that and burn it on
I'm
the
surprised, too, compared to how people always see me feel about it.
Number 4.
Well, pretty big news out of Seattle today. We talked about it a little bit earlier with the reports that Pete Carroll and the team are going to be parting ways after 14 seasons. And I always love reading comments that I see on social media because you get a ton of different opinions. But the main one was about the timing of parting ways. So, Tony, what are some of the signs for a team to know when it is time to part ways with a longtime coach?
I guess some of this... my guess is that a lot of the signs are internal, meaning you don't see it every day. Yeah. You won't see it on Sunday a lot of times. But the one way you do see it on Sundays, if you see a team that just doesn't seem to need to muster up that extra oomph that they need to when in the past.
Like the Chargers down there.
Exactly. But that's what made this one, kind of surprising is that, this isn't the Legion boom and, a young Russell Wilson and, all the talented players. And they have some talent there now, but I don't think it's on the same level as those teams were. But yet they were in it until I think week 17, 16, they were eliminated. They were eliminated. So I don't know. Pete Carroll, although he looks really young and looks young, he might be the oldest head coach in the National Football League, if I'm not mistaken.
I know he's in his 70s. Let me just make
sure.
I
mean, maybe the fact that he's moving into the front office, maybe that he also decided that it was time to go. But to answer your question, I think most of the signs you don't actually see. We don't actually see.
Yeah, it's internal struggles.
Yeah.
Chris, when is it? What are some of the signs when it's time to move on from a long time?
Well, the biggest sign that it's time to move on from a coach in the National Football League is if you have a 1-year playoff drought, and that's what the Seattle Seahawks now have.
That's
I mean,
true.
they were in the playoffs, in ridiculously so last year, and Pete Carroll did a great job with that team, bringing Geno Smith back from the dead and getting them to the postseason. And then they come into this season, they didn't really improve the roster very much. They had some injuries to Geno Smith. But the problem for Pete Carroll was that with about 6 games to go in the year, it looked like Seattle was going to get in. And then they dropped a game at home to Pittsburgh right at the end of the season.
That's right.
And I think that cost them the playoff spot. And I think that's what got everybody in the organization talking and saying, maybe it's time. He's 72 years old. Maybe his message isn't getting through. The National Football League is ridiculous. I mean, you're looking at 32 teams in the league. As of right now, 7 of them do not have head coaches. Belichick will probably make 8. That's 1/4 of the teams. Of the other 24 teams, 14 of them are in the playoffs. So that means if you don't make the playoffs, you run about a 50-50 chance of not coming back just on that.
It does seem like that's somewhat of a trend.
It's tough. It's tough to be a head coach in the National Football League. As
I mean,
Chris
come
said,
on.
the 1-year drought get you canned.
I'm honestly reading stuff, guys, from the Miami stuff that I follow, that if Mike McDaniel loses, to the Chiefs, which most people think is going to happen, that the Dolphins ought to consider changing and going in a different direction. I mean, but there's people saying it.
For him.
There's people saying it. I mean, that's how ridiculous this league is.
How many people are saying it? You say people. How many?
I counted 7.
Thank you.
He had a number.
All right.
Number 3.
So I was looking through some things this morning in regards to Ha-Seong Kim and how much value he adds for the amount of money being paid. And I discovered something that was at least interesting to me. I don't know if it will be to you guys, but if you look at positional spending around baseball on average, Right field is by far and away the most valuable position in regards to pay. Right field in 2023 averaged around $9 million as the salary. Closer was second with an average of $6.5 million as the average salary of closers across baseball. Chris, does it surprise you that right field is the highest paid position on average?
Well, I don't know. I mean, you've got some really good right fielders right now. I'm not shocked that it's an outfield spot. You know, I mean, that's where most of your offensive production comes from, the outfield and the home runs and the corner spots in the outfield. So, no, it doesn't necessarily surprise me. Designated hitters make a lot of money, but they don't play the field. So, the guys that put up the biggest numbers and the guys that play every day are corner outfielders. So, this isn't really a surprise to me. Your best outfielder is normally in right field.
What do you think, Tony? What do you think about this? Does it surprise you right field is the highest paid position on average?
I mean, it helped that Fernando Tatis Jr., who's got like the fourth highest paid contract, moved from infield to right field.
Yeah.
And I mean, is Ronald Acuna counting right field?
He does indeed.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, you got some great right fielders.
Yeah. I mean, what's unique about the right field position right now is that, especially in the two cases where you have two of the highest paid contracts, and Mookie Betts and Fernando, those two parks, the park that Betts came from, and I would probably include Dodger Stadium as well, probably some of the tougher right fields. Right, Petco Park is probably the toughest right field. So you're paying your best athlete to play right field in that particular situation. I'm a little surprised that it's a corner spot. I know they hit the power, but how often were we talking about shortstops and how much money they there was like five of them all on the same
you got Lindor, you got Bogarts, those are just
you got Turner,
yeah.
You got
I'm missing a bunch of people. Dansby Swanson.
I mean, that is a little bit surprising that it's a corner spot, but
I thought it was gonna be a starting pitcher.
But I guess when you take in account all of the shortstops, all of the right fielders, there's probably more right fielders.
There's a lot of punch and Judy shortstops still that aren't making much.
Punch and Judy.
So that brings the average down.
Can I ask?
Where did it come from?
Yes.
I have no idea.
Chris,
my dad referred to himself as a punch and Judy hitter.
What?
Yeah.
Your dad?
Yeah.
What is it? What is the definition?
When he got into the Hall of Fame, he said, "This is for the punch and Judies." Like we got in.
Yeah.
What is the definition of a punching Judy hitter?
A guy who just slaps the
punching.
ball. Punch.
It's not punching. It's punch and Judy. And I don't know where it comes from, but it refers punching Judy.
Completely different than what I thought it was.
Yeah, no, it's not punching Judy.
Is that what you were saying? Was punching Judy?
I thought this whole time.
Did you really?
Punching, for my entire life, I've been hearing
punching Judy.
I was like, man, that's kind of a violent name for a hitter.
Yeah.
How did that happen? But okay.
Yeah.
They probably named it back when Old Hose was playing or something.
You're probably
right. So. It refers to middle infielders that hit about 190 and never hit a home run. There aren't really a whole lot of those left in Major League Baseball now.
Punch
middle infielders
and
all can hit.
Judy. All right.
Yeah.
Learning something new today, guys.
Number 2.
I won't have to be worried for Judy every time I hear about it.
Punching Judy.
Panthers quarterback and last year's number 1 overall pick, Bryce Young, had a really tough rookie season with Coach Frank Reich getting fired and the team only winning 2 games. However, a teammate has an idea of what happened. Veteran tight end Hayden Hurst, playing for his 4th team in 6 seasons. He's been around a lot of different offenses, so he kind of knows what he's talking about. But he pinpointed the main issue as too many voices in his ear, Bryce Young's ear. Quote, I think it was apparent. If you were in the locker room, you could tell. Just a lot of voices. A lot of people trying to, I guess, right the ship. And I think it just got to the point where there were just too many voices, end quote. Too many cooks in the kitchen. There's many different ways you could say that. Tony, how do you right the ship with Bryce Young?
Get the cooks out the kitchen.
Get the cooks out the kitchen.
Get the cooks out the kitchen.
Get one cook in the kitchen.
It helps. It gives some clarity. You're not trying to process and you know what? This tends to happen in 2 areas, right? When a team is struggling and everybody knows their job is on the line because of it. And it happens in baseball a lot. Right. You know, there's a young prospect that might come up, struggle a little bit, and it's not coming from a bad place. You know, people want to help.
Yeah.
People want to see him get better. But everybody has their own ideas on how that happens. And so you see this happen a lot. I think a lot of times the fix is removing some of the voices, giving one direction, one voice, and going that way. And a lot of times, I would say most of the times, you see a market improvement because of it.
Chris, what do you think? How do you right the ship with Bryce Young?
First thing you do is you give him some platform shoes and make him about 6 inches taller. Second thing you do is you take him off the sdfatloss.com diet and you put on about 25 pounds.
Oh, yeah.
This guy's got to be bigger and stronger. And you can't do that. I think the Panthers made a mistake. I'm not ready to give up his career, but I don't think he's ever going to be a star quarterback in this league. He's just not big enough or fast or quick enough to get the job done. I don't think. Secondly, you probably need a new owner in Carolina. Somebody that's not going to fire the coach mid-season when you're trying to develop a quarterback. And I know that Frank Reich wasn't having a good year, but Frank Reich's done a great job tutoring quarterbacks in his lifetime. And I think if you would have stuck with him and let his message get through, I think that would have been beneficial. Instead, you change it at midseason, and now, as Tony said, everybody's in on it, and Bryce Young doesn't know what the hell to do.
It just sounded like that organization was out of control anyway, because coaches were going behind Frank Reich's back to the owner to talk about things.
We often talk about it. It starts at the top. You see the owner throwing juice or alcohol or whatever it was.
Coming out of the locker room.
I mean, there's dysfunction at the top. Guess what? It permeates down to the clubhouse, and there will now be drama there as well.
Sorry, Panthers fans.
Number 1.
All right, guys.
Unfortunately, there's no fix for a bad owner. They just have to say, you know what, I'm tired of spending money.
Shoes? Will that fix them?
Platform shoes won't help him either.
I am really, really excited for the Dolphins-Chiefs game on Sunday. And it's not because really the game itself, but because of the weather. Below 0 wind chills, and that's putting it lightly. It's going to possibly rival the Ice Bowl back in the day when the Cowboys played Green Bay. And I've actually been to a playoff game where the kickoff temperature was down 10 degrees and the wind chill was below 0. It was so cold I broke my tooth opening a hand warmer during that game.
This is you?
This is me. Yes,
wow.
I had to go to the dentist.
Will break a tooth.
It was
trying to open up hand warmers.
It was crazy.
That is crazy.
So I looked up and I looked at the tickets in Kansas City to see if anybody was going to this game. And yes, they're Chiefs fans. They're going to be at the game. But I did find some tickets to this game in KC as low as $60. So long story short, Chris, I want to know if you go to an NFL playoff game in cold weather for $60.
You would think that a Dolphin game, I would do anything to go to it, but there is no way I would go to this game.
Just layer up, baby.
The reason is I have been on the sidelines in Reno, Nevada for a snow game with the Aztecs on a Saturday night in which the temperature fell below 10 degrees and the wind was blowing and whipping up through the sidelines. And I had more clothes on than I've ever had before. And I was so cold, I could not talk. Ted Leitner threw down to me for a report, and I basically had to send it right back upstairs to him. I was almost had to be taken to the hospital. I was so cold. I've never been that cold and miserable in my entire life. And I remember the game, the Aztecs were ahead at halftime. And in the second half, the offensive players could not wait to get off the field and come back over and be by the sideline, warmer, bench warming stuff. So then they ended up losing that game. It's miserable. There's nothing in the world that would make me sit there for 3.5 hours and be that miserable again.
Tony, I know the answer.
There
to
isn't
this.
a chance in hell.
I know.
I can't for the life of me understand why people go to games, quite frankly, that are in the 40s. Quite honestly, I've been to one game. I've been to one game in Green Bay, and it was in September. It was at the end. So it was like nice Green Bay weather. It was a little chilly, but yeah, there's and then when you stand on the sideline and you watching the violence in which these plays happen, and then you take the temperature down, I don't know, 40, 50 degrees. I'm good. I think it's ridiculous that people out there, especially the ones I see out there shirtless. I really have a hard time understanding any of it.
Does it surprise you that
I don't understand that?
That you were
shirtless? I said this earlier in the
Go ahead.
I said this earlier in the week too. The NFL deserves to be to take some blame for this. They did not have to put an outdoor Kansas City game at night. They could have at least played it during the afternoon.
This is the third time in 3 days you have brought this up.
Well, they're going to get the kind of game they deserve, which might be a disastrous mess, which for the Dolphins might be a good chance for them to pull off the upset.
That's true.
Yeah, it might actually be.
All right, that's it for the Big Five. When we get back, we're going to talk about Ha-Seong Kim and his future. Maybe can he get traded before the season? Let's hope not. We'll talk about it when we get back on 97.3 The Fan.
It is fitting that we have moved into the happy hour with some of the content matter that we'll cover in the next hour. Tony Gwynn Jr., Matt Skraby. Chris Ello has left the building for a little bit. He'll be back in like 15 minutes.
Yes.
Skraby, we need to talk.
About what?
How you punched Judy.
Oh. I honestly thought it was punching Judy. I really did. I don't know why, but no one's ever broke it down for me that it's punch and Judy.
When he said, first of all, he was saying it like everybody else said it. So I assumed he knew it was punch and Judy. But when he started like asking questions about how did it become punching Judy? It's not punching Judy. It's punch and Judy. But I found that to be hilarious that you thought you've been saying punching Judy this whole time.
Yeah, punching Judy like my entire life. M. McKee 23 on the chat says I might use punching Judy as my fantasy team name, which is a good fantasy team name.
Great fantasy.
I think I just found my fantasy baseball team name.
We're gonna have to call. Okay, I'm about to say if you're trying to bring it to the Odyssey Football Fantasy League, we're gonna have to coin flip for punching Judy.
Adam says punch and Judy hitter, one who doesn't possess power. It's also used in boxing. And then Diesel says Judy just running around punching fools.
Yeah, I thought as I said last segment, my dad referred to himself as a punching Judy. So
that's an insult that he was insulting himself.
Well, no, he was taking what was supposed to be an insult. And now with the HOF letters behind it, maybe it's not a
he stood up for punch and Judy players everywhere.
There you go. He didn't stand up for punching Judy.
No,
but he definitely stood up for punch and Judy hitters.
I'm like, we're in an era where we can't say anything about anything, but we could still use punching Judy.
That was hilarious. White Sox, one of the teams that had been kind of rumored to be looking to move some of their better players, may or may not do it. Their GM Chris Getz is in charge of this ball club now. Chris,
he's new, right?
He's new. He went out and hired my guy Josh Barfield from the Arizona Diamondbacks spot. Brought him over as assistant GM. So they're trying to reconstruct his team. But Dylan Cease is a name that I would expect there are going to be a lot of teams that are going to inquire about him. Now, the White Sox don't figure to be in the mix for a division.
Are we sure? Because the last couple of years they've been picked to like win a bunch of games and they haven't.
Well, but now they're losing all those guys, right? And
true.
Tim Anderson's a free agent. Dylan Cease, they're trying to move. You start kind of going through. They still got some young guys on there, and you're right. They could shock the world. They could change the narrative that has been behind. What 2 last place finishes in consecutive years?
Yeah, it cost not Tommy Lasorda. It cost
Tony La Russa.
Tony La Russa his job.
Yeah,
because they were so
I saw
bad.
a picture of Tony recently. Man,
aged
big time.
I saw that too. Yeah,
super gray.
Yeah,
like all gray.
Yeah, I don't know how that doesn't happen during your managing career.
Like a guy was really in the dugout dealing with all of that. And maybe he just gave up on coloring it, but
that could be it. Yeah,
I had never seen him like full hair gray, full facial hair gray.
Yeah, that must have taken a lot of years off of his life that season in Chicago because
sure
it wasn't good.
It wasn't good.
And if we're talking about Dylan Cease, he didn't have a good year last year, but I know that the White Sox are asking for 3 premier prospects, and I don't know that the Padres have 3 premier prospects they're willing to part with.
I don't know that anybody's willing to part ways.
Well, that's just what they're asking for.
Right.
So yeah, it's always about negotiation.
Yuki Matsui, who had his introduction yesterday. Said he's not expecting to be the closer. Doesn't mean he won't. The fact of the matter is, as he said, I haven't pitched a single pitch in the big leagues yet. Maybe it's not realistic to say I'll be pitching in the 9th as we start the season, but I'd like to just go in there when given the opportunity, get outs, sort of build a trust from the team and from my teammates. Hopefully I'm in one of those high leverage situations to pitch in game. So he's not coming in with the expectation to close, but certainly isn't running away from the opportunity either, is he?
I like that. And he said a lot of great things yesterday. If you want to hear most of it, you can go to @97.3 the Fan SD on X. But he was talking about the Dodgers yesterday and about how all the talk is about the Dodgers, and he warmed every Padres fan's heart when he said, "We're gotta take them down."
Yeah, I'm sure.
I love that.
He also said I had an opportunity to be teammates. This is in regards to Yu Darvish. I had an opportunity to be teammates with him during the WBC last year, and obviously, needless to say, how good of a player he is. But my take on him is that he's a great person too, very respectable, both in baseball and as a human being. So just to get the chance to be close to him every day at the field and spend some time with him, I thought that's something very beautiful. So he's going to have an opportunity to pitch somewhere, and it may not be the 9th, could be the 7th, could be the 8th. But we talked about this at the beginning of the week. That's the one spot the Padres I would assume feel pretty good about their bullpen.
Yeah.
And that's minus a Josh Hader, right? That's minus a Josh Hader. That's minus a Nick Martinez. They feel like they've addressed some of the needs, and it certainly seems like they have.
Yeah, I think that the bullpen is the least of their worries right now. But are you concerned at all that these guys are coming over from overseas and they're going to have to use a year to get into things? I mean, they don't really have that.
We don't know that they're going to take a year. I know it. That's
is
how
pitching different from hitting. You think?
I think it is a little bit. We've seen many more pitchers come over and have some success.
That's true.
Versus the hitters.
Yeah.
I'm not as concerned about it, at least on Matsui's standpoint. I think with the Ha-Seong Kim experience has, I think, kind of, I don't want to say curtailed, but it has brought down the expectation, I think, from anybody coming in from the KBO, because Ha-Seong as we said, has improved every year in a major way. From year 1 to year 2, big jump. From year 2 to year 3, big jump. And so, I think because he's a pitcher, and we're not talking about Matsui, because obviously Matsui's from Japan, but for Go, a guy coming over, he's closing. I don't know what to expect from him.
Interesting.
But I don't know that it's going to necessarily take a year. Hitting is, I know pitchers don't want to hear this. It's a lot harder than pitching.
I would think so. The pitchers, the only way I say that is because the pitchers know what's coming. Like
pitchers know what's coming. They're dictating the action.
They're doing it all. They're controlling
offensive
everything.
Players literally reacting to what the pitcher does.
Yeah, which is incredible.
And so I don't know that it's going to take that long. But either way, these are investments the Padres have made. So we'll certainly see. Remember, Robert Suarez is still in that bullpen as well, looking for his first full healthy season.
He needs to have one because they missed him a lot last year in the beginning part of the year.
They're paying him quite substantially too.
Yes, they are. That's why a lot of people think that he's going to be the closer, but they didn't necessarily say that he's the closer. Yeah.
No, I think that's because they want to see who goes out and takes the closer job. Not who's going to be given, who's it going to be given to, but who's going to go out and actually stake a claim to it.
I hope it's Mr. Go. Because
you wanted to be the lefty.
Yeah, I like the lefty. I also like his name, Go, and he seemed really fun when he was.
Those are great reasons for him to be your closer. He's lefty, and I like his name.
He also throws that pitch. Gosh, what is it? It's a pitch that's never really thrown from the left side. Oh, he throws a lefty splitter.
Yeah, I'm not so sure. Like that's going to be like a game changer.
So I bought into a clickbait article.
I'm just saying. I'm not saying it won't be. But I can't imagine that the right-handed hitters out there are going to be like, oh, my God, this left-handed split is just...
You know who I don't want to face? Go and his lefty splitty.
You may be onto something. I don't know that it's going to go down that way, though.
What about Ha-Seong Kim being traded? We talked about, if you want to hear a full-length conversation, go back to our podcast in the 2 p.m. hour and listen to that. But, I mean, you heard Scott Miller say it earlier. You guys said it. He might be the best way... Like Juan Soto was the best way to get players back. He might be another best way to get players back, but I don't want him to go anywhere.
Yeah, no. I mean, listen, it's good that we don't get paid to make these tough decisions.
That's true. It's a very tough decision.
I think, watching him go, really take off last year, like all the way around, was fun. But I think Chris brought up a good point earlier. With him being a free agent next year, do you think the ceiling is higher than 17 homers, 61 RBIs, 38 bags, 260, 351 on base, 497, I believe it was.
It sounds
OPS.
like
Is
that's a
that the
max.
ceiling,
Yeah.
or is there more? And I think that is what the Padres will have to weigh moving forward. It's not going to be an easy decision for sure.
Chat real quick. Laura is asking, is the ball the same in the other leagues as used in Major League Baseball? And I don't believe it is. I think the Japanese ball might be tacky.
I was just getting ready to say the only thing I know that's different in terms of the ball they use in Japan is that it comes with tack. There's no need to add substances, sticky substances, or whatever to it because it already comes like that.
But these guys also played in the World Baseball Classic, which was played with a Major League Baseball. So I mean, I don't think it's going to be too much of a difference.
The biggest difference is going to be the frequency of the games. You know, you're playing, 162 every single day, right? I'm not sure that, at least from the starter standpoint in Japan, they might pitch once a week. It's not every fifth day like it is here in the States. So
it's like we talked about this with Ha-Seong Kim, but it's a culture shock when you come over here and you're all of a sudden living in a new country with no friends.
Now it'll help that he's got a countryman on the roster that has gone through it and kind of given guys. But I can only imagine. Like, I always marveled at teammates I had, especially in the minor leagues, that were coming over from Dominican or Venezuela or Colombia, wherever it was, and like having to like not only play baseball, but also like learn a new way of life.
It's got to be
all at the same time.
It's got to be so strange just being in the stadium with all like some of the American customs and just kind of I would feel like a fish out of water.
There's a reason why, there are a lot of guys that go back and play winter ball and are amazing ball players. They come over to the States. It's not an easy transition. There's a bunch of really good players that go through that all the time. And so, yeah, it's certainly not easy. All right, let's get to break. We got coming up, it's the happy hour.
Yes.
One of your favorite segments. Sports Court. On the way. Good one. More Gwynn and Chris.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's
Back in the happy hour, I should say. 5:20 on the clock. Tony Gwynn Jr., Matt Skraby. We've got a sports court right now.
Do you have a sports issue, San Diego? Do you need a third party to make a decision? The guys have put on their robes and picked up their gavels.
All rise. Here comes the judge.
Gwynn and Chris Sports Court starts now on 97.3 The Fan.
I'm really loving all the submissions we're getting as of late, and people are now thinking that we are life advice coaches, guys.
Oh, we're getting more like life questions.
Yeah, today it's all about sports, but we are getting life questions, and I'm sorry I'm not going to be asking a question about divorce in our sports court because it seems a little too serious for us.
What I'd like to interject here is that we had some very interesting sport court submissions last week. What I would like to know is how some of these things ended up getting resolved. I don't know if some of the people who wrote in, you know what I'm saying? We had the fantasy football question last week. We had the guy who I was really interested to see how this one turned out. The guy or the young lady who wanted to be in her boyfriend's fantasy football.
Oh yeah, that was a good one.
I'm gonna go.
And he said, and he said no, because what happens if we break up? And then she was like, "What does that mean?" And we really had trouble advising on that one. That was a tough one. So I think that would be kind of a fun addition to sports court, is to get some resolutions down the road.
Okay, I just messaged her. Hopefully she gets back to me. She never got back to me after we did our sports court. So
hope that doesn't mean something
I know.
bad.
All right, here we go. First one, and it's going to be from Jameson. I've heard you talk about rec softball before, and I have an issue with our rec league. I don't want to say what league I play in because this is going to sound like I'm complaining too much, but we are in this rec league, and it's just for fun. We aren't great, but we aren't terrible. We feel like we are in the right skill level. However, one of the teams in the league picked up a ringer. They got a guy who played some minor league baseball to play on their team. He's incredible. Homers almost every at bat. He's fast. He can cover two spots in the outfield.
I thought you can't do that.
Our team thinks it's unfair. Chris, you are a resident softball guy. How should we handle this?
Well, first thing you got to get in a league where you, as Tony just jumped in there, you can't. There's leagues where you can't hit back-to-back home runs. So if you hit a second home run, you're out. So that limits teams that have a bunch of ringers from coming up and hitting a home run every at bat. Beyond that, just take your lumps. Go out and play ball. I can't control what everybody's roster's like. I mean, we play every Wednesday night, and I think it's a terrific league. But sometimes we beat the snot out of teams, and sometimes the same thing happens to us. Some teams have better players. Some teams have It's almost impossible for a softball league to put together 8 teams with 15 guys each and make all 180 players have the same ability.
Yeah.
So, you know what? Go out there and play, have a good time. And if that guy is up and you're playing third base, move back.
All right, Tony.
So you just hit a line drive down your throat.
How should they handle this whole thing with the ringer?
I mean, are they the only team with a ring? I mean, I hear about ringers all the time. Like,
I've seen them on Instagram.
I've been asked to participate in softball for years.
I'm just letting everybody know.
Yes, we've been trying to get
Tony
you as our own ringer,
it.
but it's not happening.
So, I mean, I don't know that you do anything. Well, I think Chris is right. You get into a league where having a ringer doesn't necessarily do much for you if you can't hit a homer every time.
Yeah.
Outside of that, man, your complaint, I'm a big proponent of once the rules are set for whatever year, no matter how unfair they may be, everybody signed up for those rules. So next year or before the next season, you can try to address those things and make an adjustment. But I don't think you can do much about the ringer.
Yeah, get in a league where they can put something in the bylaws where nobody who's an ex-pro ball player can be in the league. I mean, you're not going to find that.
No, that's true.
Just go play softball.
I agree.
Just go play softball. It's an easy one.
All right. That was the warm-up, guys. That was the warm-up. This is from Albert. I can't believe I am to this point writing into Skraby about my marriage, but I need some advice. My 8-year-old son is having a hard time at school, and it's mainly on the playground. A group of classmates, or punks if you ask me, have made it the big joke to make sure my son is picked last for sports every day. First, I know my son ain't a kid who's going to be picked last. Second, I am having a disagreement with my wife over this. It's hard to see him so upset after school, so I told my wife I was going to go talk to the teachers to see if they can help. My wife said, no way, that's going to get him bullied more. She told him to go out and prove that he is better than those kids at sports, and then he will be drafted higher. I think this is not going to work because these kids are punks. Chris, how would you handle it? Or no, Tony, how would you handle it?
Mom must have been.
The first thing I would do is pass the question to Tony, who's an actual father. That's the first thing I would do.
Sounds like Mom is the athlete. Was the athlete
I don't
in the
know,
family?
but yeah, she said no way.
I kind of am in agreement with Mom. Going to the teacher over being picked last, I don't know helps son's case.
Yeah.
I think it could lead to more of that. And I don't know that being picked last is a bad enough offense
to go to the teacher.
Especially if, as Mom believes and as Dad I thought said, he's not a kid that should be picked last. So ultimately, you go out, you play whatever said game, whether it's kickball or flag football, whatever it is, and you make those kids look bad. Eventually, I promise you, one of them will be like, I'm not picking him last. I'm getting him on my team.
Yeah, I want to win.
I think that's the best way to go. I think Mom's spot on this.
It's good advice. Chris, do you have anything to tack onto that?
I do, and we're going to need a tiebreaker judge here because I'm on Dad's side to a certain extent. Here's why. First of all, being picked last is not reason enough for the father to go in and talk to the teacher or whoever it is who's directing the playground activities. Picked last is part of life. Somebody has to be. But bullying is another story, people. And it's a real major problem, from what I understand, on playgrounds throughout the country and maybe beyond. And I think if you feel like your son is being bullied by these kids, then I think you need to talk to the people about that and try to get that curtailed, because that can be really damaging. And I probably sound a little wimpy to some people out there, and I don't mean to, but from everything I hear, bullying is a serious problem, and I think it can be a problem in this kind of case. So if he's just getting picked last and it's bothering him, then tell him to play better. But if he's getting bullied, I think you need to try to step in.
Yeah, I think I'm glad Chris made that distinction. If he's getting bullied, that's, to me, I'm not classifying being picked last as being bullied.
No, I'm not either, but it sounded like he's getting bullied beyond that.
Okay, yeah. So if this is beyond being picked last,
right?
Absolutely. But if Dad is just saying they keep picking my son last, he is being bullied, I don't know if I can get down with it.
Right. Because, I mean, everybody's been through this, right? You go to a new school, you're the new kid, they pick teams, you're picked last. And it happened to me. It happened probably to everybody.
Yeah.
Sure. And then I'll never even forget the very first, after school flag football game I played in. They didn't cover me for the first hour of the game, and they wouldn't throw me the ball anyway. And I kept saying, just throw me one. Just throw me one. Let me prove that I'll catch it and make a good play. And they wouldn't throw it to me. But eventually they finally did, and I made a play, and then after that I was okay. So I think everybody goes through this.
Yeah, I was going to say, in my experience, the kid that is picked last in most cases is probably the last pick of the group of kids. That's in terms of skill. You know what I'm saying? It's not like I haven't ever experienced, thinking back, it's been a long time since I've been a kid, but thinking back, can't remember a time where someone was picked last and it wasn't like, why is he picking last? Like, he should be picked. He's way better than last. Like, I just didn't.
Kids are doing weird things these days.
They are. Trust me, I know.
Would it surprise you that I was picked last every once in a while? Not every time.
Is this a trick question?
No. I'm a decent athlete. I'm not.
I know
you've been
trying to prove that to us for the last 5 years.
I'm not a terrible athlete, but I agree with the mom, because when my mom was a teacher at the school.
I can only imagine.
So I wanted none of my mom having anything to do with it because that would be it for
Here's
me.
what I'll say is, as Chris kind of alluded to, we are in a different era of kid and how they go about things.
Yeah.
So
definitely. It's crazy.
You know
I
what's
hear about
weird?
these kids being left off chat groups, and it's like
you
it
know
hurts them.
So yeah, you know what's weird is that what I find weird is having kids, they don't really see like fights on campus like you and I did. But yet there is a lot more of like the cyber bullying than there is actual like physical bullying. I tend to notice.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I mean,
I know when I went to Powder High, I know when I was at Powder, there was gang of fights.
Yeah,
that there happened in my 4 years.
Oh yeah, then we all run around. And
Right, everybody's like, right. You know the whole deal. They don't really have that now. It's a lot more on the screen that all that stuff is taking place.
I do know we have some younger listeners out there that listen on their way home from school or practice, and I'm telling you right now, if you were left off a text group, don't worry about it, because in 20 years you're going to be praying to be left off text groups because they are the worst.
These kids now are a lot more worried about FOMO, fear of missing out.
I understand that.
Yeah.
I do.
Do you?
I do. I have a FOMO sometimes, or I have FOMO sometimes, and then I realize that I would have to go there and do
you realize
something.
the work.
And then I'm like, okay, I'm not missing out. All right, last one. This is from Diego and Diego. I recently got a new neighbor in my apartment. Let me start that over. I recently got a new neighbor in my apartment building, and normally this would be no problem. However, this neighbor is a massive Dodgers fan. I am a Padres fan, so you can see how I might be annoyed. He moved in just 2 months ago, and ever since they signed anyone and everyone, he always greets me the same way, and I am done with it.
How's the greeting?
He'll say every single bleeping time, in all caps he wrote, "How about them Dodgers?" It infuriates me, and I just laugh it off, but it's literally every time I see him. I'm so annoyed, I'm considering telling him to knock it off. Chris, what would you do?
What do I tell you every day you talk to me about your 49ers?
Knock it off.
Somehow.
Knock it off.
So
Tell the guy to knock it off.
You don't need to be friends with this guy, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, just because he moved in, you don't have to welcome him to the neighborhood with open arms. If he's not somebody you're going to get along with, and he's a diehard Dodger fan, and you can't deal with that, just walk in the other direction. Avoid him. Or just nod and go, yeah, all right, you're hilarious, and move on. Or wait till the season starts and the Padres hopefully get a couple of wins, and then you can get the best of him. But
yeah,
I don't think there's a whole lot you can do here. You can't control where people move, unfortunately.
No, but this guy does sound really annoying. Tony, what would you do?
What's the question again?
What would you do?
If
a Dodgers fan moved in?
Yeah. I mean, what would I do? I wouldn't do anything.
You just wouldn't say anything.
I would ignore him.
Like if he says, "How about them Dodgers?" You just don't say anything. Maybe he takes the hint.
I'd say something slick like, "How about them?" And like keep it moving. Like I'm not gonna give him the energy that he's searching for in asking me that question. I'm gonna purposely play it like it's no big deal.
Doesn't bother you. You don't want to let him see you sweat.
Don't let the Pods get the upper hand though, because I will be as probably worse.
Yeah, if the Dodgers somehow are bad this year, you better believe.
I don't even care if they're bad. As long as the Padres are beating them, if I was in this guy's position, Diego's position, you wouldn't be able to deal with me.
Oh, the sweetest revenge would be say the Padres beat them in the division, then you get to walk past him and you go, How about them
Padres?
Or how about them Dodgers? Because they're like missing out on things.
No,
give it right back to them.
How about them Padres?
Give them right back to them. All right.
Yeah.
Diego's
hitting too close to home with this question because we deal with you every day.
Dealing with me every day?
Yes, with you every day.
What do you mean?
What is there another person on this show who pops off about their team as often as you do?
Chris Ello?
Pop off
Chris
about my team.
definitely
Tony said him. Yeah. That's all you need to know.
I almost get mad at Chris because I feel like he doesn't do that for his team
That's
enough.
right. I'm the opposite.
He's like,
sorry?
This guy is like the most, what's the word I'm looking for? Reverse psychology.
Yeah, when's the last time I boasted about the Dolphins?
I can't ever think of it. I can't.
Okay.
Even when they were like
very
rolling,
rarely do.
when they scored 70 points, he was like, "Oh well, we'll see. They're gonna have to beat
That's right.
somebody." That's like,
That's
dude,
right.
they just put up 70.
All right, fine. I will drop my comment from the court, everybody. All right,
Very good.
that's it for Sports Court. When we get back, we're going to hear from Scott Miller. He had all of the thoughts about free agency and what's going on this offseason. That'll be up next on 97.3 The Fan.
Am I healthy? Yeah, I'd say so. I take vitamins, get a flu shot every year. You know, I like to stay on top of my health.
Staying on top of your health includes getting the latest COVID-19 vaccine, especially if you're over 65. Even if you've had COVID-19, the virus changes. The updated vaccine keeps you safe from the virus out there now, so you have the best chance of staying healthy and independent. Get the facts at worththeshot.org. That's worththeshot.org. Shared by the County of San Diego Health and Human Services Agency.
This Friday, Jason Statham is the beekeeper. The powerful and the corrupt are stealing from good people. What are you going to do with him? Well, that's between me and them, if you don't mind. From the director of Suicide Squad and Fury. He's a beekeeper. A special program outside the chain of command. The system is corrupt. I correct it. Jason Statham.
We have laws for these things.
Until they fail, then you have
Back in the Odyssey Palace Studios, 97.3 The Fan, Skraby here with you. Skraby Show coming up in 19 minutes, but until then, we are going to hear from Scott Miller. He's going to break down some of the free agency. He's going to also talk about deferrals and whether or not players actually want deferrals. And all of that is coming right after traffic.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Seeing a little residual slowing south on 15 toward this earlier accident before El Cajon Boulevard. Now in the North County, crash over the right shoulder, westbound 78 before Twin Oaks Valley. I'm Kelly Danick with Gwynn and Chris, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
Without further ado, let me bring on Scott Miller. Scott, how are you, man? How are you? It's been a while since we spoke. Excuse me.
It has been. Happy New Year, Tony. Hope you're well. I hope everything's great. Matt, Happy New Year to you and to all the listeners.
Indeed. We appreciate Happy New Year to you as well. Let's start with the Padres. It's been relatively quiet for them this offseason. I think we kind of knew that was going to be the case when the reports came out that they were going to, have to cut payroll a little bit from where it was last year. But all in all, given where they are, there's still some holes to fill. How have you assessed their offseason to this point?
Yeah, I mean, they're like team mystery in the majors, right? I mean, we knew they were going to have to cut payroll. They haven't said exactly how much. With, the tragic passing of Peter Seidler, we don't know exactly the direction of the team. I know Eric Katsenda, Seidler's business partner, is the controlling owner, but there's not much information about him. You go, as you know, Tony, you go in this game on track records, whether it's guys on the field, you look at the numbers year after year, whether it's the guy leading baseball operations in the front office, like AJ Preller, we have a track record, right? We know he's in on everything. He's aggressive. He's creative. He figures out ways to get talent here. But we don't have a track record anymore right now as we speak for ownership and the direction they're going to go. We know, like you said, we know where they're going to cut some costs. So I refer to the Padres as team mystery this winter because of everything I just said, and we don't know for sure about ownership and where they're going to leave the team. And as a result, they've signed Yuki Matsui, the closer from Japan. Woo Suk Go, who was a closer in Korea. And same thing, these two are going to come in with covered in mystery, right? We know Matsui's, both of them have really good numbers, but it's a big transition from the Japanese league to the. We making a comeback?
Yes, we're making a comeback.
All right. You know what? My bad on this end. I had my AirPods in and they might be running low on batteries. So this is direct connection now. So let's, so anyway, the mysteriousness of, bringing in, two of your key relievers from Japan and Korea, there's always an adaptation to the new league. So, I think there's still a lot to like for the Padres. I know I might be in the minority, but I think trading Juan Soto was a good move. To me, he's the most overrated superstar I've seen in a long time. I think getting the pitchers back, like Michael King and Randy Vasquez, they've got to get some starting pitching behind Musgrove and Darvish, and they've at least got some names from that perspective.
Talking to Scott Miller, New York Times, here on Gwynn and Chris. I forgot
the name of our show, man.
I did for a second.
I know you've been doing the Skraby show the last couple of days, but you've been on Gwynn and Chris for a while.
Yes, I have 6 years to be exact. But he's joining us on Gwynn and Chris, and we were talking about this a little bit earlier. You talked about Juan Soto being traded, but Ha-Seong Kim has been a huge. He's been a name that has been bantied about here recently about trading him. I think we don't personally feel like they should trade him right now. But what are your thoughts on trading Ha-Seong Kim?
Yeah, I mean, he's really, arguably, he was the most valuable player of the team last year, right? So I'd be careful there. I think he's a couple years into his major league career, he's gotten better and better. I like his energy. I mean, on a team that underachieved last year and oftentimes looked, like they were kind of dead in the water, Ha-Seong Kim brought energy. I know it gets a little dicey. He gets more expensive. I mean, he signed for this year, and then 2025, there's a $8 million mutual team and player option. $8 million this year, and then the $8 million option for 25. So theoretically, depending on how much the payroll must continue to be cut, we know Bogarts and Machado and Tatis, those guys are going to get more and more expensive, and they're here long term. So, I wouldn't trade Kim in a minute, unless you're looking ahead and you're like, we're not even going to be able to afford that $8 million option for 2025. I mean, if internally you're making that decision, then I think you probably have to look at trading him. But whether they're, going to make that decision internally or not, who knows? Only the Padres are going to know, what the future with him holds. But yeah, I'd be very wary of trading Kim just because, he's that spark plug to me, man. He's the igniter.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think outside of guys named Machado, Tatis, Bogarts, Darvish, Musgrove, he probably has the most value. But as Scott mentioned, he was the spark plug for this ball club in a lot of ways last year. Scott Miller joins us here, New York Times. And Scott, let me ask you, because this offseason has been high frequency in terms of the dollars spent. And I thought after coming out of the collective bargaining agreement where you saw all those deals, you feel like you start to see it come to level out at some point, but it still feels like price tags are pretty high across the board in free agency once again.
It does. I've been surprised by some of this. I mean, even projections for, and I know he's in a different league than everybody else, right? But Shohei Ohtani, projections for him during the summer were like, he'll probably get a $500 million contract, maybe a little bit north of that. But, when the smoke cleared, he got $700 million. I know a lot of it was deferred, right. But I mean, yeah. So for the top tier guys, the money's been there, but it's interesting that it's just, we talked about the Padres being slow, having a slow winter, but they're not the only ones. I mean, once I know a lot of people were waiting for Ohtani, but and Yamamoto, but yeah, I mean, you've still got the Cy Young winner from this year. Blake Snell is sitting out there, and that's been really quiet. Josh Hader, really quiet. Cody Bellinger coming off a really nice comeback here with Cubs last year. Been crickets around Cody Bellinger. Matt Chapman, he's just 30 and still in his prime, and good past couple years with Toronto, and that's been quiet too. So, there's a lot of work to be done when you figure spring training really is starting to come into view in about just over a month. There's a lot of guys out there still, and there's a lot of marquee impact players still out there.
I'm curious, Scott, is Chapman a Boris guy?
That is a good question.
Because it makes sense that Snell and Bellinger are waiting, because those are both Boris guys who, Boris usually he'll wait you out. And I've been surprised by how, even here at January 10th, Blake Snell, it hasn't even seemed like the field is narrowed at all. And Chapman, it's Skraby.
No, you're right.
Chapman is a Boris guy. So, I mean, it's kind of crazy to me that the amount of money Yamamoto got hadn't pitched in the big leagues over here yet at this point. But Blake Snell, two-time Cy Young Award, still waiting on that January here on January 10th. Now, I asked a couple of days ago, we had Alden Gonzalez, and I asked him, did he think Yamamoto's number has slowed the process down? Because as you mentioned, in the same way Ohtani, no one predicted Yamamoto was going to get $300+ million. But do you think that slowed Snell's,
I do,
process down?
Yeah, I do. And, especially because, again, you mentioned some of these holdouts are Boris guys, and, he'll take them right up to the end right before spring training. And he's going to get the top dollar and get, out of everybody. And yeah, I mean, I do think that some of the money, being given, especially to Yamamoto, you look at, if I'm representing, if I'm Scott Boras, I look at Snell and I'm like, Look, this guy's won 2 Cy Young Awards.
100%.
And he's done it in the major leagues, and he's done it for winning teams. He helped Tampa Bay get to the World Series in 2020. He helped the Padres get to the NLCS in 2022. And this guy's, again, we started out the conversation by talking about track records, right? This guy's got he's a proven commodity. He's got a proven track record. And, Yamamoto hasn't thrown pitch one in the major league so far. So I do think that has slowed things down some in the starting pitching market. I don't think there's any doubt.
Talking to Scott Miller, New York Times, here on Gwynn and Chris. Tony, 97.3 The Fan remembered this time. I'm not going to complain about deferrals. I've already done enough of complaining about deferrals. I know the Dodgers didn't do anything wrong. But what I want to know is if you have any indication or if you've talked to people about whether or not players are if they're deferral friendly, or if they come in and the player has to bring it up to the team. Do you know how that goes down?
Most guys want their money up front.
That's what I said. Yeah.
Yeah. They don't want it deferred. I mean, the only way you're going to get it deferred, or if you're a player, the only incentive to get deferred money is if it's with significant interest, right? Like if I'm getting my money backloaded over the next 10 years, I want in years 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, I don't want that in today's dollars. It's like, look, if you're going to hold out on the money, you're going to make the interest. That money's going to grow for you, Los Angeles Dodgers or New York Yankees or whoever you are. Then I shouldn't get shorted when you give me the money you agreed to give me like 8 years from now. You need to, make the adjustments for the cost of living adjustments and the interest adjustments and all that. So I don't see deferrals becoming a huge thing unless just under special circumstances. And obviously Ohtani's one. And, as Nesbalello, his agent, said, he may only be getting $2 million a year for the next several years while he defers, all that gazillion dollars. But, Balello made that important point. This is also a guy he's going to be getting $40 to $50 million in endorsement
off the field
fees every year too.
Yeah.
So it's not like he's getting $2 million and then the rest of it's all coming 10 years from now and he's going to be short. I mean, Ohtani, I don't think you can really compare. And yeah, it was benevolent of him to, if you believe, all parties concerned there, it was Ohtani's idea to defer the money because he wants to win. He's always wanted to win. He's like, look, if I defer some of my money, I'm going to get the endorsements anyway. And I defer money, and that means the Dodgers can buy more players right now to help us win. Most players aren't in that situation. No. The only ones I'd say are, your top tier superstar players, like Blake Snell's made him, his millions. I'm not saying he's going to be all happy about deferred money, but, you'd have to be, even take like Manny Machado, right? Guys that already made their first giant contract and now they're signing their second giant contract or an extension of that. I think those are going to be and I'm not even saying Machado will be interested in deferred money, but I'm saying that's the type of player that I think would agree to the deferred money or be amenable to it. And I don't think there are that many of those guys around.
I certainly agree. There's a reason why we don't hear about deferrals all that often because guys, they want their money pronto. Scott, appreciate you coming on, man. It's been a while. We're going to do this again here soon.
Sounds good. Look forward to it, guys. Take care.
Thanks to Scott Miller of the New York Times for joining us a little bit earlier to talk about all of that deferral stuff. And I mean, I would want my money up front too. That's it for Gwynn and Chris. They're going to be back tomorrow, and I am going to be back with you here in about 4 minutes. The Skraby Show starts next. 97.3 The Fan.